I'd like to call this meeting, the Clay County Commission, to order. We will begin with our invocation, and that would be Father Alex Kreidler. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If you'd come forward and please begin. Make sure that the green light is on, and then please introduce yourself and then proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. My name is Father Alex Kreidler. I'm the pastor of St. Gabriel Archangel Catholic Church in Kansas City, Missouri. And I'm honored to lead the invocation this evening. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus and his disciples returned to Capernaum, and Jesus, once inside the house, began to ask them, "What were you discussing on the way home?" At this they fell silent, for on the way they had been arguing about who was the most important. So he sat down and called the 12 around him and said, "If anyone wishes to rank first, he must remain the last one of all and the servant of all." Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we begin this meeting, fill us with a spirit of wisdom and a spirit of love, that we may always seek the common good, that we may always seek to better our neighbors and our neighborhood, that we always seek to glorify you and to love each other as you have loved us. We ask all of this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte.
Here.
Commissioner Withington.
Here.
Commissioner Lawson.
Here.
Commissioner Wagner.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Here.
That brings us to approval of this evening's agenda. Is there a motion related to the approval of this evening's agenda? Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's agenda as written.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's agenda as written. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. That brings us, we have two matters. The first one, two ceremonial matters, excuse me, let me clarify. The first one is 2024-125 Proclamation for Older Americans Month, which would be May, of course, 2024. With that, we will, I have a proclamation here. After we hear from the people who are here who would like to speak on behalf of it, we will go forward. I will read parts of the proclamation just so we kind of have an idea of what it is, and then open it up for discussion between the commissioners. And I've got to tell you, it certainly does have a place close to my heart when we're talking about older Americans, because I are one. May is Older Americans Month, a time for us to recognize and honor Clay County older adults and their immense influence over every facet of American society. Through their wealth of life experience and wisdom, older adults guide our younger generations and carry forth abundant cultural and historical knowledge. Older Americans improve our communities through intergenerational relationships, community service, civic engagement, and many other activities. Communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds have the opportunity to participate and live independently. Clay County must ensure that older Americans have the resources and the support needed to stay involved in their communities, reflecting on our commitment to inclusivity and connectiveness. So therefore, we resolve as Clay County to proclaim May 2024 as Older Americans Month. This year's theme is Powered by Connection, emphasizes the profound impact of meaningful interactions and social connection on the well-being and health of older Americans in our community. We call upon all residents to join us in recognizing the contributions of our older citizens and promoting programs and activities that foster connection, inclusion, and support for older adults. Do we want to go ahead and have our presenters come forward, or do we want to do commissioner comments first? Commission comments first. Let's go ahead. My friend Sue Bacon, I think, is here. If you'd like to tell us a little bit more about it, come forward and make sure the green light is on, identify yourself, and then kind of give us a little bit of more background. I just read the proclamation, so I'm afraid my knowledge is not as extensive as yours, so please proceed.
Thank you. On behalf of Clay County Senior Services, we thank the commissioners for all your work to improve the quality of life for older adults in Clay County. I am with Clay County Senior Services, and we fund the services that provide transportation, meals, in-home health care. We do that with funds from a property tax that was passed, I think, in 2008.
Sounds right.
And we have been working with the commissioners ever since then, and we look forward to continuing to work with the commissioners. And thank you.
Thank you. By the way, one of the things that I really thought was fascinating to me was the File of Life. Is that still a program that Senior Services is participating in?
Yes, the File of Life is available to individuals. It lists your contacts, your emergency contacts, and your medication, and it's kept on your refrigerator. And in the event that an ambulance is called, they know where to look to find out what they need to know about the person they're transporting.
In addition to the magnetic pouch that goes on the refrigerator, is there still the small card that is the same information that it could be in a wallet or a purse or something?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone else? By the way, we appreciate the work you do. This body obviously has the pleasure of appointing people as yourself onto that board, and we're certainly extremely pleased with the performance of the Senior Services Board. So thank you for your service to the community at large, and certainly seniors in particular. Any other comments or questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have the proclamation, so we will take a moment and we will present it to you and get pictures. Yes. So we will stand at ease for a few minutes and we'll move on to the next item. I'll see you later. All right, well, that brings us to our second ceremonial matter, and that would be 2024-126, Proclamation for Natural Therapy Animal Day. And today well, I will introduce her after I've read the proclamation. I'll do that rather quickly here. There are thousands of pet partners, therapy animals teams serving in communities across the United States. Pet Partners has designated April 30 as National Therapy Animal Day. Scientific research shows that the interaction with therapy animals can reduce stress, relieve depression, slow heart rate, lower blood pressure, and strengthen the immune system. Therapy animal teams in the town of Kansas City play an essential role in improving human health and well-being through the human-animal bond. Therapy animals teams interact with a variety of people in our community, including veterans, seniors, patients, students, and those approaching the end of life. These exceptional therapy animals who partner with their human companions bring comfort and healing to those in need. We encourage more pet owners to consider becoming pet partners, volunteers to help our community, and by creating greater access to meaningful therapy animal visits. Therefore, we as Clay County Commission do proclaim that April 30, 2024 as National Therapy Animal Day. In the County of Clay, we encourage citizens to celebrate our therapy animals and their human handlers. Further, we publicly salute the service of therapy animal teams in our community and in the communities across the nation. So we certainly want to say how much we appreciate the work of both human and non-human actors in this and on these teams. We have a real debt to these folks, because I think we've all had circumstances where we have seen somebody who is, in fact, in need of this healing process. While they are not therapy animals, I would also, that they're not really strictly in the definition, but I would also commend animals who are in the service of our society to include also the canine units in law enforcement. There are so many of these fellow creatures of ours that serve us so well that we do need to, I think, remember just how important they are in our lives. With that, Commissioner Withington, I believe you were seeking recognition.
I just want to say thank you for all that you guys do. I'm a huge animal lover, but I got two dogs, like I was telling you, English Bulldog Truman and a Boxer Sparky, and I love them. And you brought your friend Snow, and he gave me kisses earlier. This is probably going to be one of the best meetings of the year, just because Snow's here. But, thank you for all that you do. Like I said, I'm a huge dog and animal lover, and, I'd like to learn more about your organization. I think you sent me an email, so I'm going to send you an email to follow up with you. But thank you for coming tonight.
Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Johnson.
Just a quick comment. You hear about therapy animals, and particularly when we talk about emotional support animals. And I'll be honest, I actually think that's a little bit of a crock. And a lot of people kind of stretch that a little bit, and they do. But I got to witness firsthand someone that I'm fairly close to go through a pretty debilitating depression in their life. And I'll be honest with you, I watched it by myself. A little dog saved that person's life. Literally saved that person. It was the only thing that person hung on to. The only thing that gave that person a reason to stay alive was that dog. That was it. That person wouldn't be here today, I don't think it was for that dog. So it made me a believer. And so I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. If there are no further comments, we will ask, of course, the recipient would be accepting this award or this proclamation would be Snow. I asked Snow earlier for any prepared comments. The answer was a rather enigmatic and stoic silence. However, accepting as holding up the human half of the partnership with Pet Partners, we have Joelle Kozik, and if you would like to bring Snow forward, we'd like to go ahead and present this certificate to you. Obviously, I was mistaken. Snow did have something. Okay, next time we have a non-human being presented something, I will make absolutely sure they have nothing to say, so I can give them their time. With that, and thank you very much. Those were both two very heartwarming parts of it. We usually don't have that kind of a really wonderful way to begin our meeting, but certainly appreciate both recipients being here. That brings us to public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to make comment on any issue? Please step forward. And I would remind anybody to...
Brian's way more important than I am. I'll just step back.
And
Not true, but I appreciate that.
I would remind anyone who would care to come up, but except Snow. Snow does not need to worry about a microphone. But I would like to remind anyone who'd like to come up to speak to make sure the light on the microphone is green, to state their name, and then to go ahead and make their comments as they would please. Please proceed.
Okay. I'm Brian Noller, Director of Strategic Partnerships with the Platte County School District. With me is Jeff Green, Director of Northland Career Center. We're invited by Bridget Mendoza, who serves for us, our co-chair of our Northland Workforce Development Center cabinet. So thank you for being here, everybody. So I've got a long slideshow. I'm going to abbreviate and be really quick. I'm going to try to make sure I stay within my time. So you can see on this slide here, it's a beautiful building located right up Platte Purchase Road, just on the state line in Platte County, but it is right there in the center of the Northland. Let's see, how do I go to the next one? Slide down, okay. So that's kind of a closer view. In this picture, you see 17 children with the governor right there. Those kids represent all the high schools in the Northland, but also the programs within Northland Career Center. There are multiple Liberty kids, North Kansas City kids, Smithfield kids, Kearney kids in that picture. So two purposes for building a new facility to replace the one in Platte City. One, build a place that's much more centralized for our consortium of the Northland to create relevant experiences for kids, and while building tomorrow's workforce. We know about workforce issues across the Northland, the city, the state, the country for that matter. Here's some examples of testimonials you can read later. Again, all those three kids are from Clay County schools. We get a lot of information from attending meetings. I've been with a lot of you. We pay attention to Clay County EDC, Platte County EDC, Casey Chamber, Northland Business, Northland Education and Business Alliance, and been a part of other studies as well, Northland Chamber as well. Huge waiting list in these programs, the Platte City location. And again, we started talking to state legislators 5 or 6 years ago to talk about, hey, this is a project we want to do. After 3 or 4 years that worked, and we were given a $30 million grant that we were trying to match to build this new center in the heart of the Northland. I highlight the yellow just as an example that if any of you heard there's real workforce issues, visited 4 sites, and all 4 sites as we desperately need welders. And so that's why we highlighted that one, because we have a huge waiting list for that program and a new facility to help us build space that would accommodate that waiting list. Key data to support that supports Clay County. 2,222 kids attend the last 6 cohorts of Northland Career Center. In between 2020 and 2025, 1,283 of those kids, or 57.7%, are actually from Clay County, driving all the way up to Platte City. So you can kind of see how it breaks down by school. Our largest school district is North Kansas City School District, but also Liberty, Smithfield, Kearney, and private school or homeschool kids from the area. The location sits 850 feet away from the county line. Now, we looked really hard to find the perfect property that crossed both county lines, and we actually made an offer to potentially purchase property, but it wasn't for sale. So we landed at a location that was really centralized for both counties, right there up Platte Purchase Road, close to the new soccer complex and our new middle school. You have a packet with you, and I want to go through this real quick. Cover letter that says, "Dear friends, thank you for reading the packet." A case statement goes in depth of what our problem is we're trying to solve. The front back flyer, if there's other flyers available too that Mr. Green has, if anybody else in the audience would like them. And then we also have a naming rights document and current and future programming. So if any of you have interest of seeing this center have other programs, you can see we've done a lot of listening sessions and actually have 13 additional programs could match the current 12 programs. So that's what's within the packet, and appreciate if you get a chance to look at that at some point. Centralized location, community resource for all Northland students and all Northland residents. Reduced waiting list for the kids you saw on the previous slide. provide more qualified candidates to contribute to the Kansas City workforce. And then think about diversity in the Northland. Really, it's south of 152. We're up in Platte City. If we locate ourselves at 152, we reach into that diverse location to help provide more opportunities for those students as well. And then again, offer new career tracks. So this is not a cheap project. Again, we originally bid this at $60 million, and now with real cost, 3 years after we had a chance to first go to legislators, it's up to $74 million. And we're working with some partners that we'll show you here in a second. Expansion opportunities, we talked about additional programs within your case statement, that one document, but also the programs document in your packet. You can look at the different programs and the amazing opportunities these programs will offer. We serve a lot of Liberty School District kids, North Kansas City, Smithville, Kearney, and they spend half of their day at this center. They spend the other half at their home school. So it's just a wonderful opportunity for them to get certification, college credit, real-world learning experiences at this location. And then all of you are familiar with Metropolitan Community College, Maple Woods. This will be a really good partnership. Mr. Green will be attending and speaking at an event that many of you might be at tomorrow with MCC as they build an ag space tomorrow. We're in partnership. That's not a space that we'll build in this new facility because we want to be a good partner with MCC. They want to be a good partner to us. So this building goes 7 to 3 during the day for high school kids, and at the end of that 3 o'clock, you have advanced training and also college credit courses that can be available in partnership with Metropolitan Community College. We have 26 campaign members, including Bridget and others, and we're excited to have a really good team. Those are our partners there between Kinetic, Clark Anderson, J.E. Dunn, and Aristocrat Realty. And you can see we're trying to raise quite a bit of money. So I went through that really fast. I don't know how much time I have left, but I'd love to, if you have questions, to answer questions. There's a lot more information in this presentation. There's a video link that's a 6-minute video. If you have an extra 6 minutes, I believe it's linked on one of the slides, but also on the QR code in your case statement. That tells a really good 6-minute story and shows some fly through the building, shows the location, everything else. So in the end, these are a lot of different things to talk about or showcase the building. Again, a QR code that we've been using that's raised over $4,000 for us, which we're very lucky. And again, you can see pictures of wonderful things happening in the current building and think about the things we can really do in a brand new building to support kids from both counties. Again, even though it's a Platte County building now, it still serves about 58%. We moved that facility 15 minutes closer for our Liberty schools and North Kansas City schools, and closer as well for Kearney and Smithville to do wonderful things, and we could use your help. So that's it. Okay.
The other thing that I wanted to touch base, my name is Bridget Mendoza.
Please identify yourself for the audio recordings.
Okay. My name is Bridget Mendoza. I'm with the Clay County EDC, and I'm co-chairing this program with the Northland Workforce Development Council. I'm very honored to do it. The one thing that I do want to share with you, and I think it's really important, not only is this going to be good for the kids of our community, we all know that some students just aren't ready for traditional. They want to get into the workforce. This is going to give them the ability. It breaks my heart to know that some students have moved their interest to another because that waiting list is lower. By being able to ask for funding from various organizations and commissions, we're going to be able to stop that. We're going to give a child a reason to be able to fulfill a dream that he wants to be a welder, he wants to get into law enforcement, he wants to get into mechanics, she wants to get into aero. It will allow these students the opportunity to fulfill those dreams that they have. We are also going to run an evening course, and it will allow adults to come in and further their education as well. And the nice thing about it is if it is a single parent, one of our buildings, we are hoping to have a daycare center in there for them. They won't have to worry about, what do I do with my child when I pick them up from daycare? What am I going to do in order to advance myself? It's going to give them an opportunity right there on campus to be able to take their child to a qualified daycare facility there so they can advance. And I think, and this is why I came to the commission asking if you could see it in your heart to fit us into your budget. I think allowing people to fulfill an American dream of bettering themselves, of being able to provide for their families, of being able to see their children's dreams fulfilled is something that this commission could help us achieve. I'm a firm believer in education, I'm a firm believer in moving forward, but I'm also a firm believer, and I know with talking to people since I've gotten involved in this, they need workers. They need law enforcement. They need mechanics. They need manufacturing people. This is a need that's going to also fulfill the people who elect us into offices. I tell myself, the reason I took this position with the Clay County EDC, I believe in service above self. And right now, my service tells me that I have to be able to help children and adults fulfill their dream of being accomplished in something that they want so desperately. And by being able to help make this a reality, when I go back home one day, I'm going to be able to go saying that I did something. What I did mattered. What I did is going to help people and children in the community and adults in the community for a very long time. Because right now, the facility we have, it's not going to cut it. And that is my input, and that's why I'm doing this.
Thank you. Commissioner Lawson, I believe you're seeking recognition.
Well, now, wait a minute, can I just say something, or can I ask a question?
I think, I think keeping in mind that if this were discussion, we would have more latitude, but thing is, I'm inclined to give a good bit of latitude on this, so just try to be mindful of what the thing is, and I'm sure you will be fine.
One of the things I'd be interested in knowing is of the children who have gone through, have they been able to be placed in jobs and are doing well in those jobs?
Yeah, you want me to try, or you want to do it? Okay, so this is a great question got today. I'll step back up here. So one of our biggest sets of data that we have collected for many years, has been really important to us, is what we call related placement or placement. So placement meaning of the 100% of the kids there, about 95, 96% of those kids get placed into meaningful opportunities. Of that, about 67 to 70% of those kids get placed into related, meaning if I go to diesel class, I go in a diesel field, so we're about 70%. We have kids that come there aid just to learn a skill. Example is a kid that's in our heating cooling program now, wants to learn a skill. He had no desire to do it, but wanted to learn a skill so he could work while in college doing something else. But yes, we've had very good success in that. Jeff and I were administration together. Now Jeff is the principal, where we've had really good success finding kids jobs in those related fields, if that's what they want to do. And again, not all of them do, but about 96% of kids get placed in something meaningful, not always perfectly related, but pretty close. So lots of success there.
You know, you're 100% right. All kids aren't meant for college. Our youngest granddaughter went to 2 years and then just said, I can't do this anymore. Tomorrow, she's graduating from the police academy.
Oh, wow.
And she's going to be a police officer. I'm very proud of her. But I think that was something, we were forcing her, you got to go to college, you got to go. Well, it doesn't work out for everybody. So I applaud what you're doing, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. By the way, I would also remind that because this is not a discussion item, but public comments, we are under some restraints as far as our timing goes. Commissioner Wagner, I believe you sought recognition.
Yeah, thanks. I'll be quick. Brian, welcome, and Jeff, welcome. I have to sing your praises because my son went through this program last year. In fact, he was one of the students pictured in that picture with the governor, back row under the screen, but I won't tell you which. But he was there.
I forgot to point out, Patrick, my apologies.
But I believe he went through there doing some work in robotics, if I'm not mistaken. He is now finishing his first year at the Missouri University of Science and Technology, still doing robotics work. You may have forgot to mention the graduation process that these students go through. So last year I had 2 graduations, not 1 because of you.
Right.
But I think of the 2 graduations he had, he enjoyed yours much more, except for the part where we had to take pictures of him. He didn't like that part. But I just want to sing the praises of the program. My day job at Mattie Rhodes, we came to your partners breakfast, and I can testify that facility is not what it needs to be, and the one that you have presented here this evening is, and I wish you well in that. I don't know how we can be of assistance, but I understand the reason why we should consider some assistance. But again, thank you for what you do. It helped my family, and I know it helps other families as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Sir, appreciate it.
Real quick, you might have answered this already, but what ages is this for?
Predominantly, it's a junior, senior in high school, so usually 16 to 18.
Okay.
They spend either 1 year, 2 years there. Some of the programs are 1 year, most of the programs 2 years, so you're seeing that. But then in a transition, it becomes an opportunity for adults at night.
Okay.
That can be anyone from 19 to 75, so. or
And
older.
do the school districts help fund this?
They do. They provide the operating costs. So that's where they provide the tuition, where a student that comes, for example, Commissioner Wagner's example, North Kansas City School District paid the tuition for Patrick to attend, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here, making your comments. I think perhaps when we have a comment, when we have this kind of situation arise, we might be better off putting this under discussion just so that we are not constrained by time and also by how closely we can discuss this. So with that, thank you very much for being here. And we certainly appreciate the work the Clay County EDC and the various partners do in this world. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Next citizen who'd like to come forward.
Good evening, Commissioners. Will Aiken, Sheriff of Clay County. I wanted to take a moment, because I wasn't able to get on the agenda as quickly as I was supposed to do this under public comments. But I realize for nearly 3 decades, I have served in a secured facility or secured location, either here in the United States or abroad. And I have never seen someone challenge someone when they were unknown to be in a facility. I know how to challenge somebody, whether through a simple inquiry or through use of force. But one thing that I was impressed with the most was on March 29th, we had a facilities member, team member, challenge somebody with the Clay County Sheriff's Office because they didn't have credentials with them, they didn't have a badge with them, and they happened to be within our space. That person happened to be me. I was supposed to be off that day, and I thought I'll just run by the office real quick and grab some things and then leave. Well, as I made my way up to the door leading into the administration floor of the sheriff's office, I was encountered by David Williams. And I wanted to recognize him publicly because the way he challenged me, it kind of caught me by surprise, because I'm thinking in my mind, in this space, everyone knows who I am. Well, it's kind of hard to recognize somebody when they're in civilian clothes versus when they're in uniform. And so as David was walking out, I was walking in, and he stopped me and he said, wait. He goes, where are your credentials? And I go, oh, I got caught off guard. And so I was like, I'm just going to my office. He quickly realized who I was. But the simple fact of the matter is that he actually challenged me when I had already made it that far into a secured facility. So I wanted to recognize him with a certificate of recognition. The Clay County Sheriff's Office would like to recognize you, David, for maintaining the safety and security of our building by having the fortitude and courage to challenge an unidentified person, and in parentheses, who happened to be Sheriff Aiken himself, in a secured area. Sheriff Aiken appreciates you stepping up and questioning him. So like I said, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize someone amongst our Clay County team to having the fortitude to challenge somebody when they were already inside a secured facility. So David, thank you very much. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sheriff. By the way, since David vouches for you, I will not require your credentials. Are there any other members of the public who would care to comment? Any other citizens who would like to come forward and be heard? Seeing none. That brings us to our consent agenda. Administrator?
The consent agenda allows the Commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. These may include items that have been reviewed by the Commission in a prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless a commissioner requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. There are 5 items on this evening's consent agenda. The first item is approval of the April 18th commission meeting minutes. Resolution 2024-128 is approving invoice payments for Clay County from April 13th through April 19th for 475 invoices totaling $1,905,653.78. Resolution 2024-130, approving the request for county grounds for the 3rd annual Juneteenth celebration in Clay County. Resolution 2024-133, approving 2024 revocable event license for the Midwest Adaptive Sports 29th Annual Day at the Lake. And Resolution 2024-138, approving the appointment of the chair and vice chair to the Opioid Settlement Task Force.
Thank you. Is there a motion, Commissioner Johnson? Oop, hold on a moment, I'm sorry. Let me get back to where I was. Fat fingers strike again. You are recognized.
I move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of this evening's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. That brings us to our regular agenda. The first item on this evening's regular agenda is 2024-131, Administrator.
Resolution 2024-131 is a request for waiver of fees, interest, penalties, and taxes due to a county error. The applicant is Patricia Anthony, who is here in the audience and would like to present information to the commission.
If the applicant would like to come forward, and I would remind to make sure the microphone is on with the green light, state your name, and then please proceed with your comments.
Good evening. My name is Pat Anthony, pardon me, and I live and own the property at 7200 North Bell Fountain in Gladstone. I have for 46 years. I've paid my taxes the same way. So for the 46th time this year, I made my check out on December 16th. Mailed it the same day. That's how I know my dated check. I mailed it the same day. On February 1st, I received notice of late payment on my taxes and that I owed $369 in late payment. And so I went over to the annex and paid that penalty. That was February 8th. And I was told to pay the penalty so it wouldn't accrue any further, which I did. And so I paid that penalty. And then after that, I contacted Commissioner Nolte. Actually, I begged him in church. Anyhow, and I did. I was told he referred me to Dee Jacobs, and she sent me the form to fill in to send back. And she advised me to go to the post office where I mailed it and see if I could, get any satisfaction from them. I did that last Friday. And the gentleman, Postal Service person, he said he wasn't qualified to deal with this. And so the person that was, he took my name and phone number and he said, I will have them call you. And to this date, I have not heard back from them.
Okay. We do have several commissioners who would like to ask you some questions. We'll start with Commissioner Withington. You are recognized. Oh, doggone it. I am sorry, Commissioner. There you go. You're recognized.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So you're sure that you mailed it on December 16th?
Yes.
Okay. So we've had a lot of problems with the mailbox or the post office. You're probably the, 6th or 7th person that have come before us just this year with this issue. So I'm going to make the motion that we approve 2024-131 with the box checked approves.
Commissioner has made the motion that we pass 2024-131 with a box marked approved. With that, motion is on the floor. Further discussion, Commissioner Johnson. There we go. I'm glad I'm not the only one having trouble with technology. Thank you for that.
Ma'am, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for 46 years of paying your taxes on time. If it was up to me, we'd waive them this year, but we can't do that. But thank you. Sorry you have to go through this, and like Commissioner Withington said, there's been some issues with the post office. My question to you is, by chance, do you have a copy of that canceled check, or that check that you submitted?
I do. I write duplicate checks.
You do?
I do have it, yes.
Actually, if you could just show it to the lady to your left right there. Danny, can you tell me the date that's on the top of that?
This is a carbon copy of her check. She
Right.
has that kind, and it is dated December 16th.
Okay, that's all I needed.
Sorry, my mic wasn't on.
Right.
This is a carbon copy of the check as she wrote it, and it's dated December 16th, 2023.
I support the motion.
Very good. Commissioner Carpenter, you are recognized.
Thank you. I support refunding you the fees that you've had to pay. I'm sorry you've had to go through this. As a couple of the commissioners have mentioned, we've had some issues here with the post office. Could probably use a change in leadership at USPS, but that is to be determined in the future. In the meantime, let's get your money back. Sorry you've had to deal with this, and I think that's all we got to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All I can say is it's been a pleasure.
Do the officers of the county have anything to say, assessor or the collector? No? They have no comments.
We have nothing else to add. The information was in the packet. You received a copy of the envelope, unfortunately, that was postmarked January 30th, which is, what we have to go through. Yes. So we appreciate our applicant being here, and we have nothing else to add.
Okay, I'll just add two things real quick. One is that, yes, we are bound by a state law that none of us are particularly happy with. We have been going to our delegation and to others in the legislature to give us more latitude here. Myself and Commissioner Wagner, Commissioner Johnson has been leading the charge on this, and many others have been trying to make sure that we have the ability to help people who are maybe in more of a gray area than you are, but still we need to be able to, I think, show some reasonableness, especially to people like yourself who have a long history of on-time payment. The second thing is I'd like to point out that according to our Constitution, I do only vote on these matters when there is a tie, so that please don't go to my mother-in-law and tell her I voted against.
Promise.
I would really, really appreciate that. With that, are there any other comments? Commissioner Withington, I believe it is your motion. You are recognized to close. Let me give you your mic. There you go.
I close.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Withington? Yes. Commissioner Wagner? Aye. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here this evening. That brings us to the next item on our agenda, 2024-131, Administrator.
Resolution 2024-132.
132, I think I said 131, I apologize.
132, request for a waiver of fees, interest, penalties, and taxes due to a county error by David Lieb. The applicant cannot be with us this evening, so we are going to dial in. So if you would give us just a few moments, we will connect him by phone.
Hello, is this Mr. Lieb?
Hello?
Hello, is this Mr. Lieb? Hello? Yes, this is Jerry Nolte, Clay County Presiding Commissioner. You are on speakerphone now at our commission meeting this evening. We are preparing to take up your request for waiver of fees and interest and penalties on your property tax. We go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, identify yourself for the audio recording, and then please proceed with your comments.
Yeah, this is David Lee, looking to obviously get waiver of fees. I moved out of Missouri 2.5 years ago, back in 2022, and I guess I didn't realize that there was a tax bill. Nothing was forwarded to me in my Illinois address. So once I realized that I owe the money, I'm looking here at the bill that I received about a month ago, and I recognize the fact that I guess in the state of Missouri I have to pay property tax for the entire year, even if I'm not there. So I understand that. But as far as all the other fees, the interest and penalties, I'm looking to have that waived because I was not aware, did not receive any bills, wasn't notified about, what my payment due was. Otherwise, I would have taken care of it if that's what was needed.
Thank you very much. What I'm going to do now, sir, is to recognize any commissioners who would like to ask you any questions, and I'm going to mention them by name, identify them by name, so you know who it is that is addressing you. Are there any commissioners who have any questions or comments they would like to address to the applicant? Okay, I see none at this moment. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Scott Wagner has a question. Please proceed, Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Lieb, for joining us by phone. I guess my question is, well, first I'll say that in this case, for us to be able to alleviate what you're asking for, it has to be shown due to state statute that this is the fault of the county, and therefore that provides reason for us to waive those various interests and penalties. So we are required to be able to show that this is our issue. So with that in mind, I guess if I'm reading through the materials correctly, you did a forward with the Postal Service. But was there anything else that you would have done or that you did to inform the county as you were leaving the state of a change of address or anything that would have told us that you were no longer at the address that you were previously at?
Yeah, when I was relocated with my company, we had to notify the state and county that I had a change of address. We were able to forward the mail with USPS for a short period of time. I'm sorry, but I don't remember if that was 90 days, 120 days, whatever that was. Mm-hmm. But I made sure that was all filled out. I mean, if anybody knows what it's like, I've been relocated multiple times. To move from one state to another, even honestly from one county to another, it's super important to me to make sure that I get anything that's due to me. I've got 2 kids in college, multiple bills that come in. I am not one to walk away from my responsibilities, mm-hmm. But nothing was sent to me at this address. So if it continued, even when I did a change of address with the United States Postal Service, even when I did change address, if it was continued to be sent to an address that I was not a resident at, it's not like they sent it to me, mm-hmm. Right? So finally what I did is I signed up for something. I got a postcard in the mail that said I can pay $60 a year to continue to have the post office now send mail to me that was still continuing, and I even get an email to show me what mail is coming. So that's what I did earlier this year, and that's when this showed up at my house, and I went, uh-oh, I owe the state taxes. County taxes. Mm-hmm. But before that, I had not received anything to let me know that. And look, I lived in Kearney and Liberty for many, many years. I was relocated from New York. I really did not realize that there was anything due because I had moved out of the state early in 2022, or bought a new house early 2022. If I would have known about the bill, it would have been taken care of. And that's why, like, even if you look at my request, I understand how this works, and I owe the money for taxes, and I'm willing to pay the $105 for the personal property late filing penalty. That's on me because of this, obviously, 2-year delay. But not receiving the bills, the penalties, and the additional fees, to me, does not seem justified, because this is my first notice, and the minute I received it, I called the county, sent in all the paperwork that was requested, and obviously I stood before you today asking for you to forgive this amount.
Sure. So, Mr. Lieb, if I can kind of get the time frame right in my head, you left the county in roughly early January, late January of 22. You had and then you had the regular post office forward, which would have lasted 6 months, but that would have ended before we would have sent out our bill. So am I hearing you also say that you actually purchased a service from the post office to extend that time?
Yeah, so that's what I did. So I received a postcard saying, "Hey, did you know that the post office offers services to continue mail from previous addresses for X amount of dollars?" So after discussing with my wife, I said, I don't mind paying $60 per year. I wonder if we've missed anything. Like, I mean, look, my credit's impeccable. I work for a financial institution, so I'm big on making sure that everything's taken care of. So this never popped up on my credit, which is why I never realized that I owed it. But I had the conversation with my wife as far as, hey, let's invest the $60 or $59, and let's just make sure that there's nothing being sent that we missed. And really, my concern wasn't even this. I've got a 20-year-old in college and an 18-year-old that's about to go off to college, and I was more concerned that any communication with, they're in a couple of societies and applying for scholarships, I just didn't want to I wanted to make sure that it somehow wasn't coming to the old address and it was being sent here, because I had some interactions with the National Honor Society that they had mailed and I never received. So my $60 that I spent was more thinking back.
Gotcha.
So obviously when this was received, I was like, let me figure this out.
But you made that. I'm sorry. But you made that investment in the latter half of 22, after the normal.
I made that investment like 6 months ago, 8 months ago.
Oh, I see.
Sometime in 2023.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
No problem.
Okay.
Are there any other comments or questions from the commission? Are there anything from staff on this issue?
We're simply here to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Do commissioners have any questions of staff on this matter? Commissioner Lawson, you are recognized.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to make sure I get this right. So you moved, sir, it's Commissioner Joanne Lawson. You moved in the early part of 22?
Yeah, I purchased this home in March of 2022.
Okay.
But I was technically relocated in January. I didn't actually buy this house until March.
Okay.
So I started working in Illinois in 2022.
Oh, okay, I'm with you. So for the staff, the question I have is, this bill is for the full year, right? Of
Right,
2022?
So I'm not disputing the $42.23 that I owe in taxes for the full year. I've done the research. I actually wasn't aware of that, but I recognize that whatever property that I own for going into 2022, I recognize that I have to pay the property tax for that. My dispute is I've received nothing that showed that it was due. I wasn't aware of it. And so when I see these interest and penalty charges, that's what I'm asking to be removed, other than the late filing penalty fee of $105, because I recognize that obviously it's 2 years later and that's on me.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
No problem.
Commission, if we could draw your attention to one of the documents in your packet.
Oh, could you go ahead and identify yourself so
Oh,
that
I'm
the
sorry. This is
applicant?
Diana Wright, County Administrator. Included in your packet is a document with regard to personal property assessment. You may see that. And regular document that was produced by our assessor, in which the applicant filled it out July 4th of 2022.
Of when?
July of 2022, and he does list as the owner's address, the address here in Kansas City and Clay County. So there was no information on the personal property assessment identifying the new address in July.
Commissioner Johnson, you are recognized. Oh, excuse me again.
Mr. Lee, Commissioner Johnson here, Jay Johnson. A couple quick questions. Your total, what was your tax, the property tax amount without the interest and penalties?
So the property tax principal is $4,223.73.
So $4,200, and then you're getting an additional little over $1,500 in interest and penalties.
Yeah, my total tax bill is $58,550.72.
Okay, so the challenge we have, and Commissioner Wagner, I think, mentioned this, is we're kind of bound by state laws on what we can and can't do, unfortunately. I think the interest amounts and penalties are way too much. I wish we could do something about that. But the other issue, and I'll let somebody chime in who knows more, but I don't think legally that the county has a requirement to send out a notice, do they? We're not required to notify someone when their property taxes are due, are we? That's just a courtesy that we do?
Essentially, that's correct. Kevin Graham, County Attorney.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Kevin Graham, County Attorney.
Thank you.
That's essentially correct. I mean, you have a duty to pay your taxes whether or not you receive a notice.
Yeah, so
I recognize that I'm responsible for paying taxes, right? But I would imagine that from a county level, you've got to provide me what my tax bill is. I don't magically know what that dollar amount is. I'm not trying to dispute this, right?
Right.
I owe taxes, I get that. But the way it works, the way I understand it is, you bill me, I pay it. So if I don't receive the bill, I don't know what the pay is. I moved into your county from a different state, not recognizing that the entire year has to be paid, even if I'm not there for the entire year. All I needed was to be provided a bill, and I would pay it. I pay my taxes, I pay my bills. That's not a dispute, but I don't understand how I can be responsible for paying a tax bill without being provided a statement on what taxes are owed.
yeah.
That's my dispute here. I haven't received it.
Sure. I think you make a valid point. I don't disagree with that. I don't know if the law agrees with that, whether the law is a good law or not. I'm assuming the expectation is that we're supposed to go online and look it up ourselves or something, which I don't think is good law. Again, that's not something that we control at the county level. However, I do think that since we do send out notices, I think there becomes It becomes a reliance on that. I think most people rely on it. I know I do. I rely on getting that bill every year, and so I know how much I'm going to pay, and I pay it. And I assume, I'm going to guess if I didn't get a bill, I may forget myself and not pay it on time. So nonetheless, I think commissioners, we have a choice here to make. Either we deny this based on, hey, the county was not at fault, because the county wasn't at fault, or we could say, back to the post office, that the post office didn't forward the mail, because he did give an address here, but he gave a forwarding address as well, and the post office didn't forward that mail apparently. And that's kind of what Commissioner Wagner was getting to. So I'd be curious to know if there's any other comments. I see Commissioner Withington might have a comment, so curious to know what other people think.
Commissioner Withington? I am just, hold on a sec, let me go ahead and get your mic going. I apologize. There you are, you should be on.
It's on.
Great.
I want to make a motion that we approve 2024-132 with the box mark approved. I think that he didn't get his mail forward to him, so I just want to approve this with the box mark approved.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2024-132 with the box mark approved. We will go now into further discussion. I would like to say that because of the fact that the applicant, I'm sorry, this is Commissioner Nolte. because of the fact that you did go the extra step of going with the additional services that you purchased at your own expense, regardless of your reasoning. I think that is something that that should be taken into account as we go forward in deliberations on this matter. I think that does say something about the intention. So, but I do agree with what Commissioner Johnson said, and that is state law is not. I think we have a profound disagreement with state law, and we would certainly like to see it changed. But with that, I would open it up for further discussion. Is there anyone else who would like to make comment? Okay. Seeing none, and I assume there's nothing else from staff?
I would I'd defer to staff or the assessor if they have anything they'd like to add to.
Okay.
Tracy Baldwin, Clay County Assessor. I must remind the Commission one more time that this is a self-reporting state. The only way that we can rely on those bills or any information from the assessment department getting to that address is an address verification. The taxpayer in this case said he moved out of the county in January. We have a signed document from the assessor's office, and no time was there an address change filled out. We still have no address change for this. I would like to question the taxpayer of how he received this last notification.
Were the applicant? Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard to hear you, but if you wanted to ask me how I received.
Yeah, how was you notified of this current bill?
So again, I signed up for a USPS, a United States Postal Service program that allowed me to pay a yearly fee last year to receive mail that would be sent to my Kansas City 64157 address, and they would then forward it to me, even though the forwarding notices have been gone since I left. I received a postcard, I signed up for it, I paid the $59 fee, and that's how I was able to get this notice in the mail.
Gotcha. So you did receive a notice in the mail to your new address just recently? Okay, no more questions. Thank you.
I received this one, which is why I contacted you to try to figure this out.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have a seeking recognition, Commissioner Jay Johnson. I got to tell you, this is, okay, there we go.
I actually have a question of Tracy Baldwin, our assessor. This is a self-reporting state. So what does that mean? What's the expectation on the taxpayer? Let's say we don't send out any bills at all. What's the expectation on the taxpayer?
Well, I believe at this commission, I've repeated this multiple times, but they have to make us aware of what property changes, any address changes, right. And that's what a self-reporting means. We have to rely on what the taxpayers provide to us. In this case, we had no other address to send this to other than the address. We never received any return mail from this address, and like I say, the taxpayer actually signed in January that he had his assessment done late. That's why he would have received the $105 penalty in that time, July. And there was never any address change at that time either. And if he was out of the county in January, there should have been an address change because he did sign for that.
So what does a self-reporting state mean in terms of us sending them a bill? Are we required to send them a bill still?
That would be a collector question, but I believe the county attorney had answered that one.
That we're not required to send them a bill? The question would be, if we're not required to send them a bill, what is the expectation on the taxpayer?
Again, I don't have anything to do with the billing or anything.
That would
have to be answered by the collector staff.
Okay. Dieta, do you know by chance? I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you don't know, just say you don't know. That's fine.
Dieta Jacobs, Administrative Services Officer. Barbara picked a really good time to be on vacation. We are required to send out a bill for real estate at least 30 days prior to its due date. And I believe that covers personal property, but won't stand 100% on that. But we are required for the real estate to send it out 30 days prior to its due date.
Okay.
Okay? And we are required to send it to the address on record with the assessor's office.
Right.
And the only way that those get changed is by the citizen themselves, because you don't need somebody else coming in and randomly changing your bill address.
Right.
So it's reliant on him to let us know. And in July, when he did a new assessment and paid that $105 fee because it was late, that would have been a prime opportunity for him to have notified us that he had moved to Illinois, and that we could then forward that bill to Illinois later in the year when that 2022 bill was sent out.
Okay, and it sounds like he was relying on the post office with this mail forwarding to get any bills sent to him. Is that right, Mr. Lieb? Or could you hear me?
So I guess I'm a little confused again. I get what you're saying, and I appreciate the content here, but when I moved, same thing when I moved from New York to Clay County, you know, all I did was fill out paperwork with the post office to make sure that I continued to get my mail. Now, the post office cut me off after a certain time, which is why I did not receive it. Look, this isn't something that I do on a regular basis, so I did not realize that there's a digital document that I have to fill out with the county or state to let you know that I moved. I guess I assume that the United States Postal Service handles that when I do a change of address. Like, it's very hard for me to, I mean, even here, as I listen to all of you talk, you're questioning what you need to do. Are you required to send a document? And the truth is, there's a lot of blurry lines here, right? I don't know if you're required. I just know in the years past, I received the bill, I paid it. I moved, and in my mind, I am thinking that if I fill out something with the United States Postal Service that says that I am moving, and I have a change of address, and they make me fill out the form and document that, I don't understand how the USPS does not translate to any other county or state
Yeah, no,
that I moved.
I hear you, and I don't disagree with you. The right hand doesn't always talk to the left, actually rarely does in this case. And as the assessor pointed out, being a self-reporting state means we are required to report a change of address. Most people don't know that. I didn't even know that. I didn't either till I got on this commission. Yeah, and a lot of people don't. And this is where I have trouble with the law, because the laws are made and we find problems with them after they're made, and a lot of times they don't go back and get them fixed. Unfortunately, these aren't laws that we make at the commission level. They're laws that are made at the state level that we can't fix and we can't undermine. So what we do is we try and massage these laws to find ways around loopholes, such as, hey, the post office, you know, the taxpayer did everything they could, the post office made the mistake. The challenge here is, did the taxpayer do everything he could or not? And that's, I guess, what we're trying to figure out. But I think Commissioner Withington has put a motion on the floor to get your money back, but we'll see where that goes.
What I'd like to do now is, I don't see any other commissioners queued up for questions. What I'd like to do would be to give the applicant an opportunity to do a summation, and then I will go to Commissioner Withington for his, to go ahead and to conclude his motion. Does the applicant have anything that they would like to add?
In addition to what I've already said.
Yeah, I mean, just if you wanted to, okay.
I appreciate the opportunity. I don't think I need to repeat myself, but thank you.
Thank you, sir. With that, Commissioner Withington, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the,
Commissioner Withington? Yes. Commissioner Wagner?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
No.
Commissioner Carpenter?
I'm going to abstain.
Commissioner Lawson?
No.
Motion fails 2-3.
thank you, sir. I'm sorry to say that it did not pass, so we are going to have to then,
We have to have another motion.
we have to have another motion, right. So is there someone who would like to make a motion on this with the box, I assume with the box marked denied on it? Commissioner Wagner, you are recognized.
Thank you. Move to approve 2024-132 with the box mark denial.
Motion has been made for the passage of 2024-132 with the box marked denied. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner, Commissioner Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Abstain.
Commissioner Withington,
No.
Commissioner Lawson.
I'm confused. Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
Is passage of the issue 2024-132 with the box mark denied. That motion has carried. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time and you calling in.
Okay, I heard the vote, so what's the ultimate decision? I'm hearing you speak on.
Sure. The decision was that the applicant's request is denied. So,
Okay, well, disappointed in that. All right, well, thank you.
thank you, sir. Okay, that brings us to our next issue, and that would be 2024-129, I believe.
Commissioners, certainly, before I read that resolution, I'd like to thank Chris for playing Vanna tonight with the phone to make sure that our applicant could hear us, and so we appreciate him coming out and helping us with the phone. I know, turn in the letter. So with that, Resolution 2024-129 is approving invoice payments for the Clay County Prosecutor's Office from April 13th to April 19th. There are 37 invoices totaling $16,134.38.
Is there a motion related to 2024-129, Commissioner Johnson?
Move to approve 2024-129.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2024-129. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
I recuse myself.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Withington, Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4 in favor, 1 recusal.
Final item on this evening's regular agenda is 2024-127. Administrator.
Resolution 2024-127 is consideration of approving the capital project encumbrance request for the purchase of a 2024 Chevrolet with a bed and trade-in of a 2008 GMC Sierra Crew Cab with Rusty Drewing Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac. This is for our Parks Department, and Interim Parks Director John Davis is here to provide information.
Please proceed.
John Davis, Interim Parks Director. This year, we budgeted $60,000 to replace one of our heavier trucks used by our construction crew. This hauls heavy equipment from skid steers, backhoes, and all the materials that they need for keeping up with the parks. We have located 2024 Chevrolet one-ton four-wheel drive pickup at Rusty Drew and Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac, utilizing state contract. We will be requesting trade-in a 2008 GMC Sierra one-ton, mainly due to its starting to get some excessive mechanical issues. With the trade-in price, it's $57,522. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Just a fast one, noting that we're trading in something from 2008. What is the expected life of the vehicle?
This one's 16 years old, so I'm hoping to get...
No, for the one that we're about we expect the 2024 Chevrolet 3500 to last how long?
I would hope at least 16 years like we got out of this one.
Okay.
Or keep a better rotation program with them.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure as part of the rotation if we were doing, if kind of sorry, if our expectation for the vehicles that we do get is 16 years or thereabouts.
Thereabouts, hope, 10 years, this just depends on what our budget is, so.
Gotcha.
Take
Okay.
care of them as good as we can and get what we can out of them.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Motion to approve 2024-127.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2024-127. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. That will move us on to discussion items. First item is 2024 Road Maintenance Program update. That would be the Highway Department. Please proceed.
Good evening. Terry Griffin, Highway Administrator. This is, as was stated, the Road Resurfacing and Preservation Program for 2024. We'll start with a brief look at the costs that we've had over the last several years for different types of resurfacing that we've done. You can see we have the bids in for all the products this year with the exception of striping, and that bid is not scheduled to renew. It's a term and supply bid until August. We're anticipating that that one will go up as well. We were surprised this year by the fact that our asphalt bid, the cost of asphalt went down by about 5.5% per ton, which was good news for us. It's going to allow us to do some other things. Chip seal went up by 8.25 or just over 8%, and micro seal was up 3%. So we were pretty much on target with those other numbers. For our asphalt program, we presented not just asphalt, but all of our resurfacing. We presented some information to the Commission in December when we were doing the budget hearings. The streets that are shown here as our asphalt resurfacing are all the streets that were on that plan and that are on the 5-year CIP. In addition, we're asking to add Northeast 159th Street and Oakmont Place to that list. Those streets are in Oakmont Estates, along with the two that are between them, Oakmont Circle and Oakmont Drive. They will add about 0.9 lane miles to the total cost of our, or to the total length of the surfacing that's being done. But adding those two short streets at this time will give us greater efficiency in cost and save us on mobilization costs in another time. For chip seal, we'll be doing a total of 49, almost 50 lane miles. The streets that are shown here in white are the ones that were presented in the 5-year CIP plan last December. The ones in the dark blue on the lower right-hand side are the gravel roads that are on the stretch of Short Lane, Ryan King, and Belmont. And the Commission has graciously provided an additional $50,000 to resurface those streets in gravel. We're also asking that the 3 streets that connect to those streets and that form part of that whole corridor that will be very much more heavily traveled once the chip seal is completely in, be resurfaced at the same time, because those are all in fair to poor condition at this time. And it will, we believe we can go ahead with the costs that we have and still do okay. We're asking that on the upper left-hand side, Northeast 146th Street is a gravel road that is adjacent to East Grove and Shady Grove and 148th that are shown there. This is near the bridge on 148th Street that was recently completed, and part of our plan has always been to resurface those gravel roads in that area with chip seal, and the short stretch of 146th Street was inadvertently left off the CIP list last year. It adds less than half a mile of lane mile of time or of length to that. For Northeast 164th Street and Walnut Drive, those are both streets that were in the CIP plan for 2025, but the winter has not been kind to those 2 streets, and they are in very poor condition. They're rated a 1, which, as you recall, is the lowest rating we can give to a street. And so we're asking that those 2 streets be added to our list as well. And those 2 together will add about 1.5 miles in lane miles to the total length that we're resurfacing. We're also requesting one change to the CIP, and that is to remove for this year the section of Platte County Line Road that is north of 188th Street. And the reason we're doing that is that this is a shared maintenance road between Platte County and Clay County, and Clay County has the primary maintenance responsibility for this street. Platte County, however, has responsibility for a bridge that is located on that street, and they are going to be replacing that late this summer or this fall. And the construction traffic, well, for one thing, if we are up there during the construction, we're going to be in their way and they're going to be in our way while we're doing chip seal, as well as the fact that the construction traffic will just severely damage the chip seal surface during that time. And so we're asking to take this off the list for this year and instead move it to the 2025 list of roads to be done. And in the meantime, there are some pothole repairs and other repairs that need to be done, and we will take care of those before we get to the chip seals, or in the next few weeks, before we get to chip sealing. You may also recall that in 2023, the micro seal surfacing started late in the year, and the contractor was unable to finish because the weather turned too cold. They have finished that last almost 30 lane miles of micro seal this year already. Those were finished a couple of weeks ago. These are all the streets that remained on the 2023 list, and they have all been completed. For 2024, the CIP plan called for us to do all of these streets that you see here in white. The three that are in blue are adjacent to Petty Road and 136th Street and form part of what is generally considered a Petty Road between 128th Street and the Kearney city limits. And because of ease in mobilization and just logic of doing this, we're asking that we add these three roads to the micro seal for 2024, and it will add about 2 lane miles to our overall plan for the year. So our estimated costs for all of the chip sealing, you can see that our total budget is $4.1 million. The asphalt, chip seal, and micro seal were all originally budgeted in the 2024 budget. And then in addition to that, $50,000 was added to the chip seal program to specifically chip seal the short Ryan King Belmont stretch of road that's gravel right now. In the right-hand column, you can see what we estimate the costs of each of those surfaces will be. The 2023 micro seal, as I said, has been completed, and that has been paid using 2024 dollars. The reason for that is that we had requested that the funds that had not been spent in 23 be added to the 24 budget, and that did not happen. So we have a shortfall this year, if we're to complete all of the planned 2024 resurfacing, of about $646,000. And so we'll be asking for a movement of funds from the fund balance into the construction fund so that we can finish the 2024 roads as planned. Our timeline is a little bit variable, but we have a pretty good idea of when we're going to do all these things. In March, the Highway Department began replacing under-road culvert tubes, repairing severely damaged areas, and we've started reclaiming the roads for chip seal that are ready. The flyer that you see on the left is the flyer that is provided to all the residents on the roads that we are reclaiming so that they have an idea of how the chip seal resurfacing program will go. Talking to our contractors in late May, early June, the asphalt contractor will be doing the county roads for asphalt overlay. We expect to see chip seal resurfacing being done in July and August. In mid-September, we'll do the micro seal. And the reason for waiting until September to do the micro seal is the type of micro seal that we prefer to use and that has more longevity on it is a very fast setting product, and the hotter it is, the faster it sets up, and the harder it is for the contractor to work with it. So they have asked to wait until mid-September when the weather starts cooling off a little bit to actually go ahead and place that. And then once all of the resurfacing is completed for the year, we will go ahead with striping the county roads as needed. And of course, these schedules are somewhat dependent upon the contractor scheduling and what kind of weather conditions and other things that they run into between now and then. But at present, this is when we believe the work will be done. So our next step is that once we have discussed this and assuming that we have authorization from the commission, we'll come back to you again next week and request you formally authorize the funds for us to utilize for the shortfall. Then we'll also be asking you to approve the contract with Superior Bowen for the asphalt overlays and approving the contract with Vance Brothers for both chip seal and micro seal. For those who are listening online and you'd like some more information, we do have places on the county website on the Highway Department page that will help you. In the roads section, you can find a list of all the roads that are in the 5-year CIP, and in the next few days, we'll be adding a list specifically of all the roads that will be resurfaced this year. Any residents who have any concerns or questions, we encourage them to call the highway or to contact the Highway Department in some way, and that can be done through our website on the Report a Concern link. You can call the Highway Department main number, or you can email the Highway Department at claycountymo.gov. It's highway@claycountymo.gov. And with that, I would be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Bridge. Quick question. Megan, do you remember, did you get an email from a gentleman talking about the potholes on his road? Do you remember what road that was?
Commissioner, you want me to turn on your microphone?
I want to say it's 132nd, because I
I
drove
beg
out
your
into
pardon?
132nd.
Okay. Have we got that on the, go back to your list.
No, it's not. I don't need to go back. It's not on the list for this
okay.
year. We are aware that there are some potholes over on 132nd. I believe if you're talking about over near Mount Olivet, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, and
Yes.
we will be doing potholes throughout the county, and that is in the next couple of weeks, and that's one of the roads that's on our list to make sure we get the potholes taken care of there.
And I guess the thing I don't understand.
I did talk to that gentleman this afternoon, and yes, I think we're squared away with him. So he and I hope his neighbors are aware of where the Highway Department is going on that. So I believe that is in process.
All right, the point is this. You got a guy who says, they just keep coming back and filling the potholes and nothing gets done. When you got a road that bad that is just filling potholes, some of those roads that you had on there, I drive in the rural area all the time. And some of those roads aren't that bad. They need, it's always nice to have them looking good and resurfaced and all that. But like this gentleman said, and this happened to me just yesterday, he's talking about people trying to avoid the potholes and coming way over in the other lane so that they don't hit them. I turned off of Salem to go over towards the pasta factory yesterday. And as I made that corner, a lady came all the way over to avoid those holes that they've got. They've been refilled, but they're rough. Anyway, she came all the way over, and I had to stop so she could get herself back over, and then I could go on. So I know what the guy's talking about, and he feels his contention was, we waste so much money filling the potholes, but we never get it resurfaced. And in instances like that, I think those ought to be a top priority in, getting them. I'm not talking about my road. I'm talking about this guy's road, 132nd, so.
Right, and I would also add that we've had 2 people drive that section of 132nd Street independently. And I've not personally driven it, but my understanding from both of them independently is that those potholes are primarily in the center line of the road where there should not be anyone driving. There is some raveling or fraying of the deterioration on the edges of the road, but what my staff has said is that there is not a reason if you're driving at the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, that you need to go out of your lane to avoid those areas.
Okay.
But we will go back over there and we'll take another look at it again.
Okay, thank you, I
So,
appreciate
yeah.
that. Another thing is, Carl can probably reference to this one. Last year, not this year, but last year in March, April, when I was just getting my feet wet on this job, that gentleman came in and had his big say about the road. I believe it, Carl, was at 187th off of 33, 184th?
I believe it's 184th.
Do we have them scheduled this year or anything?
That road section is not on the 5-year CIP for 2024. This 5-year CIP has it next year. We've done some extensive repairs on that road, and that is another, I mean, there are roads all over the county that we'll be looking at for pothole repairs.
Yeah, and that was one that last year, nothing was getting done for 7 months. And then at the last minute, when they came in and raised Holy Billy, then all of a sudden the next day they were out there fixing it. So, you know, I just anticipated, yeah, we're not going to be able to do it this year, but maybe next year. And now we're not doing it next year, they're waiting another year, so.
Well, I would also add, I know that roads are not pretty whenever we do pothole patching, but the fact that we do patch the potholes improves the condition score of the roads because they no longer have potholes in them. So sometimes, even though a road has been repaired multiple times, it is still in good condition, and so it is less needful of having to be completely resurfaced.
I wouldn't call
But
that one.
I will make a note, though, that we need to check that road
Sure.
when we are doing the pothole patching in
Yeah.
the next couple of weeks.
It's not in good condition. So
Okay.
I know tonight, because they watch every week, my friends on Rhine King are going to say, when are you going to do it? So do we have without getting into all the hoo-ha that we've got going on out there, what now is the anticipated time that you will start the reclamation?
My understanding is that we still do not have a clear path to do that
Okay.
because of the legal things that are going on. As soon as we have it, I mean, it's on our list. We've started reclaiming in other parts of the county right now, and we will get there as soon as, we'll get there whenever we can. That's all I
Okay.
can, because of the whole situation. I can't give you a definite date.
I understand where you're coming from. So I ask our beloved attorney, would you give me a call tomorrow and talk to me about that, please? Okay, thank you very much. That's all I got. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Withington, you are recognized. I'm sorry, hold on. There you are. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for this information. Also, I do like how you guys use that Clay County Rural Roads logo.
Oh, thank you.
Telling people highway department is kind of confusing for them. Sometimes they don't think of county roads as highway. So if we can start rebranding as rural roads, I think that would be a lot better. Hey, this list is really, I like this list. The only thing I ask is that you continue to give us regular updates as the year progresses. And then also, Kansas City doesn't do a lot of things good, but one thing that they do that is good is every year when they do their road resurfacing, they have, charts to show what their goal is, where they're at. So maybe Megan Marketing could work with you or something, but I would like to see us on social media and other places periodically put out there how many roads we've resurfaced, what percentage of our goal we're at, and stuff like that, so people can see that we are actively out there doing the roads, and we're on pace to complete our goal for the year.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you.
Hold on, there you.
I should
There we
never
go.
have touched that thing. Terry, thank you very much, and I appreciate the information. I want to talk a little bit about timing. I appreciate that you want to use or do micro sealing in cooler weather. I understand why. Thank you. But I feel like that we're starting asphalt overlay and chip seal resurfacing later than we could. And I'm wondering if that, if, as far as our bidding process and when we actually can let those projects, if that is the reason why that may be the case, or maybe this is exactly how it should go, but I feel like this is late, which then pushes things, if you get bad weather later in the year, to another year. So if you'd like to handle that question, however you choose, go right ahead.
This is not extremely late. Chip seal the chip seal resurfacing particularly should be done in the hottest part of the summer, ideally. That's July and August, so that is a good time for us. The asphalt overlay will not start until the asphalt plants open, which is never before April because of the cool weather. Again, they need warm weather to do that. So there is some delay. There is a little bit of delay because we did not have the complete bid process. We rely on the cooperative contract from Platte County for both microseal and asphalt, and those were not approved by Platte County until I believe April 1st this year, which is a little bit late. But so we didn't have those prices before the prices to put to the numbers before then. As I said, the microseal needs to be done either early spring or late or in the fall. And again, since that's a cooperative contract through Platte County, we needed to wait until they had their contract signed before we could proceed with ours.
I see.
And so they were, Vance Brothers was already committed on other projects in other locations for the spring period, and so we're into the fall.
So in this case, our bid process, we are piggybacking off of the process that Platte County has gone through. Okay.
For asphalt and microseal, the chip seal is a Clay County contract.
Okay. Well, I guess I raised the issue partially because, and I think this came in a discussion a week or two ago when this came up, particularly to Ryan King, I believe, that we were suggesting that it was going to be later in the year, which wasn't necessarily a commentary on that project, but more this is the bid and this is when they are available to do it. And so it just strikes me that anything that can be done to accelerate that process means that people see the work faster. We have less opportunity for it to then go into the other year. And so I'm just trying to understand if and how these things can be accelerated so that people see the work a little bit faster and so on and so forth, unless it can't be for whatever reason.
Well, we can certainly work in that direction. We also, I would hesitate to have a complete list too early in the year until we have seen the winter damage.
Sure.
Especially on the chip seal roads. But we can certainly work towards considering looking at possibly our own contracts on asphalt or microseal, although we do rely on economies of scale by co-oping with Platte County.
Sure.
But we could certainly look at what that might happen if we have our own contract on those.
Or we have some discussions with Platte County about trying to, maybe one year we take the lead versus the next year they take the lead.
Sure.
And so, working with them to get the bids out sooner.
Sure. Well, and mind you, I understand the value of piggybacking off of other contracts. It's supposed to save time in the whole process. But in the end, that's all I'm wondering is how can we accelerate things in a way that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Terry,
Further
you can
questions or
talk about
comments?
The rates could go up.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yes.
we do have one thing we would like to clarify. So you might go back to your, the
Sure.
bid,
Yes.
the dollars.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for reminding me. There is one thing that I didn't mention on all these products. They are asphalt products, which are oil-based, and as a result, all of these prices are today's prices. We are relatively certain that they will remain stable, but there is a possibility that if the whole overall economic conditions change drastically in the next few months, that we'll see some surcharges or changes in product, and that is especially true on the asphalt. Now, I did talk to the asphalt contractor just today, and he said that if we can lock in this contract in the next week or so, he is confident that they can hold the prices. If we wait too long to lock in the contract, we're subject to any price fluctuations. But at this point, the chip seal and micro seal, I'm relatively confident that they will stay where they are. It is possible that if the overall economic conditions change on oil prices, we could see some changes in the actual price. And that would be true no matter when we do when the contract is let.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item for discussion is discussion regarding the invitation by the Kansas City Mayor related to migrants to Kansas City and related costs. This would be both myself and Commissioner Lawson. I think the best way to proceed is to take the document that was submitted by Commissioner Lawson and start with that. So, Commissioner Lawson, I would ask you to kind of kick off the conversation, if you would not mind. Need to push your button so I can recognize you. No, that's okay. You know what? Join the club when it comes to technology. You are now, your mic is open and you are recognized.
Thank you so much. So let me say that this is the very first ordinance I have ever written. I'm kind of excited about it, because I just, this is something that I've never done, and so hopefully you guys will bear with me on it. My hope was that I bring it to my counterparts here, that everybody looks at it, scrutinizes it, whatever they want to add, whatever they want to delete. I was in hopes that this would be a commission document and that all of you would be involved with me on this thing. And you will not hurt my feelings in anything you do as far as that document is concerned. When I wrote this, my whole focus was to protect Clay County. That was first and foremost in my thoughts. We all know that, in the past, I'm not against immigration, for heaven's sakes. In the past, we saw tens of thousands, millions come to this country. The big dream was the American dream. I can go to work, raise my family, own a house, which was a big deal. I can do all those things. Those people came through Ellis Island, and they did it the right way. I just was in awe of the trips they made and the way they had to live to try to make it in this country. They came legally, they worked their fannies off, they saved, they raised their kids, they sent them to school for a better way of life. And, nobody handed these people a darn thing. You talk about the tenement buildings in New York. They lived in the worst conditions ever, but nobody handed them a damn thing. They worked to get everything that they got. They didn't have translators. If it were in today's world, if I went to the ATM, I would have to say for 1, press English, for 2, Italian, for 3, German, go through the whole scenario. But those people just brought themselves into the whole system. They may have kept their ethnicity in some way, but the bottom line was they became Americans. Every time that we propose something that's going to be tax affecting, everybody immediately says, oh my God, the schools. Oh, the schools. Kids are going to lose teachers. We're going to have to close schools. You can't do that. Big deal on the taxes. But if you think about it, if what Mayor Q wants to do, one of the biggest impacts is going to be on the kids in this area. Number one is going to be health. You have to think about, our kids have been inoculated. We've pretty well eradicated whooping cough and TB and measles and all of these things, chicken pox. We don't see those rampant the way they did even when I was growing up. Everybody in the family got measles. Everybody in the family got chicken pox. You know, it was all that same thing. Nowadays, we don't see that. But God bless these kids that are coming the wrong way. They're bringing with them diseases, as are their parents. So it's going to be a big thing for the immunizations. It's going to be a big thing for translators in the school. In my opinion, school districts are the ones that are going to suffer the most. The other thing I think we have to be really, really cognizant of is our crime rate. You know, and it seems like in every area where the sanctuary cities come into being, one of the things that you see is the crime. And I think we can't discount that. So I'm going to read this that I've written, and then, as I said, I'm all for people coming here and coming legally, but whether these people are documented or they aren't, the bottom line is, if you think about it, they came here illegally. They came here the wrong damn way, and you shouldn't be rewarded for breaking the law. And that's what we're doing. We're holding the hands of our law enforcement in these cities. You know, they can't do what they're supposed to do. So here's what and the expense to this county could be overwhelming. You know, we're already talking about more money for roads. We want that to happen. We want our schools to be well staffed, and all these wonderful programs and things like these people brought to us tonight. We have to look at that and say, right now, we can't afford to help them, even though we'd love to help them. So what's this going to do to us? So here's what I wrote. Please feel free to change, plus, whatever you want to do. Clay County Commission hereby adopts this ordinance to eliminate any unfunded mandates that are imposed upon the county by any city, town, or village. Should any city or town within the boundaries of Clay County, Missouri, encourage the employment or sanctuary of illegal immigrants, they shall be held responsible for all costs, or fees that occur as a result of the municipality's action. Should any city, town, or village pass any legislation that does cause additional costs to Clay County, Missouri, those municipalities will be required to reimburse the county fully. So that's what I put out there, and I'll shut up and let y'all talk about it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Not for shutting up. Thank you for your presentation. Although when in my case, perhaps they would thank me for shutting up. I think that we need to have one piece that we work on. Commissioner Lawson and I were working kind of in parallel efforts. I think we should be looking at her ordinance and then what I had written as perhaps maybe a supplementary and maybe a suggestion to additions or deletions from that base ordinance. I'm not going to read the entire thing because unfortunately sometimes I get a little wordy. But I think a couple of the points that would be important for us to make, and I had couched mine in more in the character of a resolution as opposed to ordinance. One of the things that I think needs to be established is that we acknowledge that we are in fact not a sanctuary jurisdiction. I just talked this afternoon with one of the members of the Budget Committee in the Senate in Jeff City, and there is language that is in there that is not specific to Kansas City, but it is specific to sanctuary city jurisdictions. I think it would be wise for us to state that we are in fact not a sanctuary. We do not have any intention, and we are not a sanctuary jurisdiction. I think the same things that would apply to other municipalities, in particular Kansas City, could be pushed back on us. I think we need to make sure that we have proactively moved forward with this so that we can protect our own funding. The two of the areas that would be impacted by a large increase of migrants, or tell you the truth, any other large population shift, one would be law enforcement. the thing is, law enforcement, and that does not necessarily say that there would be an increase in violence. What it says is a larger number of people coming into this community are going to require more law enforcement. There is, I suspect there is somewhere that we could find a ratio between law enforcement officers and numbers of people that we are serving. And I think that it is a distinct possibility that a large influx of an unknown number of persons would put additional stress on that already stretched system. The other system that I would refer to would be the county health centers. Again, they are there to service people who are here. If we have a dramatic increase in our population, I think then that is an additional cost. I think if that is caused, if there's a causal effect from another jurisdiction who is in fact engaging in some of these activities, that is attracting folks here, and in fact, whether or not they are relocated into Clay County. I think that puts additional stress on both of those two systems, as well as the others, educational and others. I focused on these two because they are within the county purview. But what I'm basically recommending here is that we start thinking in terms of, if there is this kind of an impact, that we would ask the both of those two entities to give us some kind of a dollar estimate on what that extra impact would be. And I think that we should, I'm not saying we should directly go to legal action, but I think we should make it clear that legal action is certainly one of a number of remedies for these kinds of situations. So I think what we need to do is to say, if you have imposed this on us, we will be recovering, we will be giving consideration to recovering damages as far as our budget goes, if we have to end up spending a lot more money to, in fact, service this additional load of people in our county because of an outside and direct cause, then I think that we have the right to certainly discuss and take up the possibility of recovering those expenses, because we are here at the behest and we are here to represent our taxpayers. If those taxpayers are being negatively impacted and the systems they depend upon are being negatively impacted, we have to have the ability to recover damages, and I think it's only right that we make that statement at the outset before we do end up in a situation where that is a possibility. Kind of set the table so that there is an understanding that this is the county's position. As I said, one of the other contrasts is Commissioner Lawson is looking for an ordinance. I'm looking more at a resolution type of thing. But in my opinion, I'm certainly happy to see what the pleasure of the commission is going forward on this. I am thinking that what Commissioner Lawson has in mind is to incorporate the input from tonight into one larger piece. I would be happy to help her in that endeavor. This is an issue I had some experience with in Jefferson City for some years, so I would be happy to give whatever help I could in that matter. With that, is there any further discussion that would like to take place, or any other commissioners? Commissioner Carpenter? Let me get back onto, there we are. I've got you recognized now. Please proceed.
Thank you. I appreciate the discussion so far. I think, to me, one of the most important things for our discussion as a commission is to be real careful to not conflate folks who have illegally entered the country with people who are legal in any number of legal statuses, whether they're legal permanent residents, immigrants, are on a temporary work visa, and are legally permitted to be here. And I do have some concerns around conflating those two groups. I would certainly join the rest of the commission in encouraging elected officials here in the Northland and across the city, the state, and country to respect the law and not encourage or in any way participate in the breaking of the law. My concern is, and so on that note, I am more comfortable with what I see from Commissioner Lawson. Exact wording aside, I think at least it specifically specifies illegal immigrants, talking about employment or sanctuary of illegal immigrants. The first half, Commissioner Nolte, of your resolution tends in that direction. The second half expands it beyond folks who are here illegally. And I think we get into some real dicey waters when we start conflating folks who are here illegally with folks who are not, and treating them as a different class of citizens with regard to their impact on social services, that sort of thing. Now, I think it's debatable whether they have a negative impact on social services. I think there's a strong case to be made that folks who come here and work hard and have work visas and are legal documented workers here contribute a lot to our economy and our tax base, and things like discussions around crime, et cetera. I don't think there's any reason to believe, nor are there statistics to back up that they commit crimes at a higher level than regular citizens. Indeed, if anything, the statistics tend to indicate the opposite. But that aside, the point is, I think we need to separate the discussion from legal migrants and illegal aliens. And if we don't, I'm going to have some real concerns about voting yes. So that's my top line concern. I'll add in terms of this issue with regard to Kansas City, I do understand that there was probably a good faith concern at the outset. I think what got said and got reported was that we will welcome all, something to that effect. And I think if that were the end of the discussion, one could have a good faith concern about one sentence that said we will welcome all, because all could be interpreted to include folks who are here illegally. That being said, what has happened subsequently is that it has been made abundantly clear, repeatedly, that we're not, I won't say we, that Mayor Lucas has made it very clear he's not talking about illegal aliens, that he's talking about people who are documented with legal work permits. And I have a real concern around continuing on what may have started as a good faith concern about that issue when that's been clarified. And I feel like it has been clarified at this point. So if he changes course and proposes that Kansas City, for example, become a sanctuary city in which we no longer participate with the federal government in the enforcement of federal immigration laws, then I will share your concern. But given that that's not actually what's being proposed, I guess I'm a little concerned that staying on this issue feels like we're conflating this with a broader immigration conversation with regard to immigration itself, the amount of it, et cetera, where we have immigrants from, that kind of thing. And that concerns me a lot. So what I would like is, if we're going to pass a resolution or an ordinance, I would like it to be as clear as day that we're only talking about folks who are here illegally. Now, I understand there is some dispute. The Attorney General of our state, Attorney General Bailey, has a lawsuit along with a number of other states against the federal government, saying essentially that they disagree with, in certain situations, the provisions that are given to folks in terms of temporary work permits and temporary legal status. He, of course, has every right to hold that opinion and has every right to seek his day in court to make that case, as do the other attorneys general who have joined him. But as far as I know, we haven't had a ruling on that. And until we do, the law of the land is the law of the land. So either we respect the law of the land with regard to who is considered here to be here legally, until such time that they may be altered or not. Or we engage in conversation here at the county level in which we purport to have our own determination of who is lawfully present and who is not. I would suggest that that is not our role, and pretty far from it, frankly. So again, if we're going to do a resolution or an ordinance, would strongly recommend that it be clearly limited to folks who are here illegally, and perhaps some opposition to, a sanctuary city status in that regard. And I think falling short on this, including legal migrants into one big group, I'm just very, very strongly opposed to that, and I hope we don't do it. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Wagner, you are recognized.
Thank you. There are many comments that our colleague just made that I agree with, and I'll go into them in a moment. But first, I'll just start off by just pointing out once again that policy should never be made over Twitter or any form of social media, because when that happens, you get this. And I would simply say that I don't want to fall into that trap because it was very clear that the focus was not on the 12th line of that missive, but on the first. As a result of that, we will get whoever we get, because that will get shared, as it often does, and it causes whatever issues that it will cause. I think the mayor of Kansas City, if he hasn't already, is realizing the mistake that he made by doing that. I would suggest to him, and I can say this because I served with him for 4 years, that stick to those bets with the cities during the Super Bowl. You'll get into less trouble using social media that way. Now, having said all of that, we have what's here before us. I do agree with our colleague that it is very easy to conflate these issues, and the brush will get bigger, and people will start categorizing various individuals the same way, and we should do so, and will do so unfairly. It is especially apparent to me, and I'll make this connection in a moment, but the place that I work at every single day has individuals in 5 schools in the North Kansas City School District. They are there for those whose primary language may be Spanish, whether they are here under whatever pretense that they are here. And I say that because anyone who thinks out there that there are individuals presently in Clay County or in Kansas City, or pick whatever community you'd like, there are people who are undocumented here. And this is where I get into the first issue that I have with both approaches. Because based on what I read in either format, one would presume that there's already a cost to individuals who are already here. Can you measure that? I can't. And if you can, then I'd love to know how you do. Because if you can't measure that now, then it doesn't matter what the mayor of Kansas City has said, and it doesn't matter who comes as a result of that. You'll never be able to track it back to, because he said it, they are here. And if you can't do that, then I find it very difficult to be able to say that anything that we pass has any measurable effect. The other thing I'll say is, and I'll kind of if you'll indulge me, I'll use by another example. Back when I was on the Council of Kansas City, it was blatantly apparent to me that there were communities around Kansas City who were bringing their homeless into Kansas City because they believed that there were services there. And I won't name names, but some of them are in Kansas and some were in Clay County who were clearly driving people and dumping them off in Kansas City. And I had the bright idea that I shared with our law department, well, we should take action. We should sue those communities. And they said, how would you make that case? And I wasn't an attorney, I'm still not an attorney, but that is the other question that is begged here, is if we were presumably to blame the mayor and therefore the city of Kansas City, that people are here because of what he said, how do we go about making that case? How do you possibly enforce this, whether it is ordinance or in a resolution? As has been pointed out, there is Missouri state law that says you cannot be a sanctuary city. So there's that. Don't need to repeat that. But if you cannot measure and you cannot make a case, and of course I noticed the county counselor is not in here, you probably knew I was going to ask him. But if there is no way that you can bring a claim and therefore seek damages for the harm that has been caused, then again, you could have either of these, and I'm not sure it matters. It says it sends a statement, it keeps the conversation going, but I don't know if it brings any finality to it. And so I have great issue either way, but I will say, before I would even entertain voting for something, you gotta show me how you measure, you gotta show me how you make a case that would actually be successful. Because if you can't, then it doesn't matter. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Withington, I am sorry, my fingers are just not working well. Give me a moment and I'll get your mic on. There you go. Please proceed, sir.
So I'm not as eloquent of a speaker as Scott and John, so I'll try my best. And so as the only person up here not affiliated with a political party, I'm just going to say, we're not going to solve this problem tonight. This problem has been going on for a long time. What is this year? This year is an election year. Immigration, like abortion and a lot of other issues, is a wedge issue that parties use to drum up the base, get them excited. I think that this is nothing more than a political political move by Q and others. I don't think that the county is like I said, the county is not going to solve this problem. Like you said, how do we measure it? We know that we already have illegals here. I don't feel comfortable voting for Commissioner Nolte's resolution. If I had to pick one, I would support yours, but I would be more happy with seeing this county commission introduce a resolution that just says, hey, we expect all municipalities in the county to follow current state and federal law. I mean, we don't make laws on immigration. Hell, Congress doesn't even want to solve this problem. If you go back the last 22 years, Republicans have held control of the Senate, the House, and the presidency for 10 of those years. They could have solved this problem if they wanted to. They didn't. Democrats have held the Senate, the House, and the presidency for 10 years. And guess what? They didn't solve this problem. And what was it, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when the Democrats wanted to solve this problem, they went to the Republicans, and the Republicans backed out at the last minute because of Donald Trump. So this is a wedge issue. Nobody is serious about solving it because it drums up the base. That's, you guys can disagree with it, but it's true. Missouri has a Republican supermajority who has already, passed laws about this. And the state Senate Appropriation Committee added language yesterday to the budget that would block state funds to any city or municipality that would adopt a sanctuary policy. Those cities that have a sanctuary policy in place would have to repay back all funds with interest. So it sounds like the state's already working on this. The feds, they're not doing anything. And just for the record, I believe in legal immigration. I believe anybody that comes to this country should come here through a legal port of entry, but I'm not going to, even if somebody just has a work visa, I think they are welcomed in this county, if it's just a temporary work visa. And just full disclosure, my wife is Hispanic, my kids are mixed, so, I got that, but I just think this is a wedge issue, and I'm not going to be a pawn in any political games. So if we're going to do something, I would like to see us pass a resolution that says we encourage all cities and municipalities to follow current state and federal law. That's where I'm at.
Commissioner Lawson, I believe you were seeking recognition again?
Yeah, thank you. No, I think what you're saying is correct, Jason. But, and it's a big but, if they are here the proper way, and someone, I don't care whether it's Iran, Mexico, or China, if they come here and they've got a real work permit and they came here legally through proper channels, then God bless them. I welcome them with open arms, put them to work. I look at the police officer that we all watched in horror that was kicked and beaten by those guys in New York. Well, you can't say just because those guys did that to him, everybody that's an immigrant is bad. You can't say something like that. But I think that this county, and I have, as we all know, me, John, Jason, Sheriff, the other office holders that don't have a race, that are already in, so to speak, we don't have anything to gain by this, one way or the other. I'm not making this in any kind of a political, with any kind of a political thought in my little head. I'm saying it because I firmly believe we need to take a stand of some nature for this county. And we need to say it's not going to happen in this county, and we've got to protect the people who pay the taxes and do everything the right way. Do we have illegals working here? Hell, go down and go to any of the banquets that we go to. Nobody that serves us can speak a damn word of English, that's for sure, because I've asked for coffee and you never get it, you get water or something else. So, are those people illegal? Probably not, probably have a work permit, maybe they don't. But I'm just saying, are they here? Yeah, we got them in this county. But just to open the door, like Q's talking about doing, and I'm sure he's doing it because I think in another year he's going to run for something statewide or federal. So I'm sure it's all, to help him politically. But regardless, I think we need to take some kind of action, whatever that action may be. And I'd like to hear from the one person that's going to really get impacted, one of the heaviest is going to be the sheriff. I'd like to know what he thinks about it and what his views are so that, we can maybe incorporate that. You're on, big boy.
Mr. Sheriff, your name has been invoked, or at least your title has been invoked, so please, if you would care to make comment, please proceed.
When I hear about stuff like this, I often think about who and how are we going to identify the status of people who are in our county. I don't have that capability. That's all immigration. So if I'm going to be the one responsible for approaching somebody and trying to determine their status, their immigration status, I won't be able to determine that. So that's the number one thing is determining the immigration status. The second thing is, what laws in the state of Missouri do I enforce when it comes to immigration? It's very clear. The only thing that I can enforce right now is a Class D felony, and that's the transport of illegal immigrants. How do I determine they're illegal? See the conundrum I'm in? Everything else is federal. And so if we make it, if something is entertained, whether it's a resolution or an ordinance, and a lot of pressure is put on the cities and left to the sheriff to enforce, I will tell you right now, it's going to be a whole lot more gray area, and I won't take action. Now, with that being said, anyone, regardless of immigration status, if they commit a crime in Clay County, we will take action. Just the mere existence of somebody in the state of Missouri is not a crime, according to the state of Missouri. So as we continue to have discussions about which direction we're going to go and what the language is, I would really hope and encourage the commissioners to include me in the continued conversations. But I will say that openly, I have to wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Withington on this matter right now. It's an election year. Let's not get lost in what's actually being accomplished here and what we need to do for our county. Let's remain focused. That's all I have, thanks.
Commissioner Johnson. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having a heck of a time with these buttons this evening, I apologize.
Thank you, sir. So, true, it's election year for some, and certainly probably some politics in this, but my fear is the danger that those politics can create for us here in Clay County. So this really started with the mayor of Kansas City and some of the things that he said on Twitter and the Bloomberg report that most have seen. But like Commissioner Wagner said, it's probably not a good idea to put policy out on Twitter or make policy on Twitter. But I tell you, I think that the Kansas City mayor is smarter than that. He's very calculating and he's very conniving. And I think this was intentional in the way he did it. I will read to you what he wrote in his tweet. It says, "All are welcome in Kansas City. Proud to work with my fellow mayors like Colorado Mayor and New York Mayor as we work to ensure decompression of new arriving communities and collaboration among cities, labor, nonprofits, and federal officials." And he links it to the Bloomberg.com interview that he had. And then later when he's pressed on this, it's no, I'm talking about legal immigration and those with work visas. Of course, that's what he's going to say, but I could be wrong, but I don't think New York and Colorado have issues with legal migrants with work visas. I don't think that's their challenge. Their challenge is with illegal immigration. That's their challenge. And he says he wants to help alleviate that. That's the problem I have. And certainly he's not going to come right out and say, hey, we want illegals, we'll welcome illegals here. No, he's not going to. He can't say that. But he can certainly send out that invitation by saying exactly what he did. And then to top that off, Councilman Willett, Kansas City Councilman Willett had a ordinance presented the other day to basically say, hey, let's the ordinance, and I don't have it in front of me, but from what I understand, it basically just says, hey, it underscores the current laws in the state. And say, hey, we just want to underscore the current laws in the state, or sanctuary cities and transporting illegals, whatever it is. Let's just underscore these laws. We're not changing anything. We're just underscoring the laws, just saying how important these are. Mayor Lucas was against that. He voted against that. He didn't want that. Why? Why would you not want that, if in fact that's what you're about? So I worry about that. I worry about the motives here. Certainly it's election year, and I can't say, I could just speculate. Maybe he's trying to, impress the far left, the extreme left, the wokes that are into this thing and are okay with violating laws. I think most of you know my background. I lived and worked for 51 years of my life 2 hours from the Mexico border. And I watched myself. I visually watched Ponga boats come up on the beaches and illegal immigrants just scattered throughout our communities. I've watched the impact they've had on our communities. I've watched crime. I've watched quality of life issues. It's a big issue. It causes a lot of problems. That's why Colorado and New York are having problems right now, because they welcome this problem, and now they're saying, whoa, we don't want this problem. But yet now Kansas City mayor is going to say, well, we'll bring this problem here. That's a problem. And I think we need to be very clear, and I agree with Commissioner Carpenter, that hey, there's a big difference between illegals, criminals, and those who migrate legally. And I think we certainly need to make a clear differentiation. But whoever puts out a call for legal migrants to come to their cities? Nobody does that. Nobody needs to put out a call, hey, legal migrants, come to our city. Nobody does that. So what is his real intention? I think it's probably obvious. Again, it's the election thing. And I don't know what his ultimate goals are, but the impacts the impacts it can have on our community and in Clay County specifically could be enormous. And I don't want that to happen. Matter of fact, I think just the opposite. I think we should make it clear that illegals are not welcome. Illegal immigrants, criminals are not welcome in this county, period. You're not welcome, period. And make it clear they're not welcome. Immigrants, legal immigrants, you're always welcome. And we can all trace back to being an illegal immigrant somewhere in our ancestry. Nobody has an issue with legal migration. However, it shouldn't be on the burden of the taxpayers, whether you're legal or not. It should never be on the burden of the taxpayers. We have taxpayers now that are, all of you, that you pay plenty of taxes. You pay more than enough taxes, and you're tired of paying taxes. It's real easy for government and politicians to say, give us more of your money, and we're going to decide where it's best to spend. We're going to decide we're going to spend it on someone who's just come over here, even legally, but we're going to give them some money. We're going to give some handouts. We're going to take your money from you and give it to these people because we decided to do that. I don't think that's government's job. I think that's the job of your churches, of your nonprofit organizations, your social organizations that people can donate to if they want to donate to those. And I donate to those regularly. But if you want to donate to those, do that. And if those want to help the legal migrants, that's great. I don't think it's the job of any politician to say, hey, I'm going to take your money from you and I'm going to give it to somebody else because I think that's where it should go. That's not our job. And yet that's the outcome that happens because even in this Bloomberg report, the mayor said this will require more local budgetary decisions. The mayor himself says it will require more local budgetary decisions. In other words, it's going to cost the taxpayers more money for these people to come from New York and Colorado and everybody else that I'm going to welcome here. I'm not going to say illegal because I can't do that. But let's face it, you roll out that carpet and you won't even stand up with Councilman Nathan Willett's proposal to say, hey, let's at least underscore the current laws we have. That's concerning to me. And I think Clay County, we should make it very clear, we don't like criminals here. We don't want criminals here. We don't want anybody illegal. You're legal? Great. We're all legal. Come on, you're welcome. You got to pay your own way. You got to get your own job. Don't expect handouts when you get here. You got to figure that out. And if Mayor Lucas wants to open up his doors to someone to come live with him, more power to him. And if anybody else wants to do that, that's great. But it should not be required of anybody to say, hey, I'm going to take your money, I'm going to give it to somebody else who wants to come here, even if they come here legally. And that's a concern I have. But on top of that, it's not just going to be legal migration. It's going to be illegal immigrants that come here as well. That's my biggest concern. And I've seen what's happened. I've seen what happened in LA County. That's where I worked and lived most of my life. I saw what happened in Orange County, California. And so these are real issues. He throws out these tweets because he's concerned about himself and his own, I don't know if, like I said, I don't know what, I can only speculate what his motives are here. But this has a huge impact, could have a huge impact. And we have to make it very clear in this county. Illegal immigrants are not welcome here. And he should have, the mayor of Kansas City should have no problem saying the same thing. We do not tolerate criminal activity. We do not tolerate any illegal immigration coming to our county, to our cities, anywhere. And if he did that, I'm fine. But that's the problem. He won't do that. He won't even back the laws that we have on record now. He won't even say, yeah, I support those. That's concerning. That goes to what is the motive here? And it's hard for me to just shake it off and say it's politics because it can have a huge impact on us. In California, what we did years ago when I worked in the jail system, we actually had ICE agents that actually worked in our jails because, like Sheriff Aiken said, we're talking federal laws here. So we had federal ICE agents who worked in our jails with us. They would actually screen folks to determine if they're here legally or not. And when they were determined they're here illegally, they would do whatever the feds did with them, whether it's deportation or criminal charges or whatever it is. I'm guessing that ICE under the current administration isn't going to be too cooperative with that, but I would love to see something like that. By the way, we talk about sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities is kind of a nebulous term out there. Who knows what it really means? There's really no legal definition except for the fact that, hey, they don't cooperate with the feds. They refuse to cooperate with the feds in enforcing the federal laws. Certainly, we don't want to be a sanctuary county or have any sanctuary cities here, and Mayor Lucas will never come right out and say that, but we need to do the opposite. We need to be very cooperative with our federal law enforcement agencies, make sure that they're on the same page as us, and that we do not want illegal immigration here. Legal migration is great. You're welcome. Pay your own way. Illegal immigration, criminals are not welcome in Clay County. We need to make that clear, and I really urge Mayor Quinton Lucas, the Kansas City mayor, to do the same thing, to clarify, illegal immigrants, you are not welcome in Kansas City, in Jackson County, in Clay County, Platte County, anywhere in Missouri. If you're a criminal, you're not welcome. Don't even bother coming this way. But if you can pay your own way and you don't come here legally, we'll welcome you with open arms. As far as these two proposals that we have, these ordinances that we have, I'm not 100% happy with both of them, but I think we can find something that works, that makes it clear, that comes from the commission, that, hey, this is where we as a commission stand. Like Commissioner Carpenter said, hey, let's make it clear we're talking about illegal immigration here. But I think we could probably find something. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to play favorites here on which one I like better, but I think there's some good things in both. And so I'm all for some kind of ordinance or resolution or whatever it is that has some teeth in it that will say, hey, you're not welcome here. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll go ahead and just make comment, then I will go to Commissioner Withington. Tell you the truth, I'm not entirely happy with either of them either. They need work. That was the point of this discussion. So you have an excellent point there. One observation that I would make, and that would be, however we go forward, should we decide to use this particular method, it seems to me that it would be, and this is a rather technical point, but that we use what is in existing federal and state law to make these definitions. As you say, sanctuary city as defined in Missouri law. I think that makes our lives a lot easier because there's no point in reinventing the wheel. So that's largely a technical aspect of it. Once again, the point was made that the mayor had made those comments and that he had kind of backpedaled. There are some things, and I agree quite honestly, very strongly with what Commissioner Johnson just said. That is that resolution by Council Member Willett was not going to be coming forward, but absent comments that were being made. It came forward for a vote, and it was, obviously it was killed. The import of that was basically to say, we are not a sanctuary city. We are in compliance with Missouri law. That was turned down, so that makes me wonder. Another issue that is separate, but I think related, are the fountain cards. Fountain cards, if you want to attain a fountain card, you do not need to prove legal presence, and yet it is an official government photo ID. I think that is problematic, and that makes me wonder whether or not how sincere the clarifications are that are being made. Part of what I would like to see us do is to affirmatively say, essentially, and it's a shame we have to say it, but I think because of where we're at on the budget, and that is we are in compliance and will continue to be in compliance with both federal and state law. if it were not for the fact that this were being baked into the budget as it appears right now, who knows what will happen in conference, I think if we don't make that affirmative statement that we are and will remain in compliance, I think that puts us in a similar position to the Kansas City mayor. Why are we afraid to say that we will be in compliance? It seems a rather low bar to make. I don't know exactly how we would enforce other cities within the county not to be in sanctuary cities, or how we identify them. So that's why I really didn't touch on that. The idea that we are looking at the downside money-wise, and that was why I put language in there that would possibly refer to some kind of mechanism where we get repaid. And I agree with Commissioner Wagner. It's going to be a difficult thing to figure out. I think there may be a mechanism to do so, but that's something that is going to take a good deal more thought before it's really ready for prime time. But I would point out that the mayor of New York himself said that due to their migration problem and, quite honestly, their stature as a sanctuary city, Denver also is a sanctuary city, that the cost they estimate to that city is going to be something on the order of $12 billion with a B dollars by the summer of 2025. Kansas City in its current budget has allocated $1 million to deal with that problem. That tells me that the problem is going to be pushed into the non-Kansas City communities, and I think that's a real concern. Denver, as I said, is a sanctuary city, and it's telling, I think, that the mayor made his invitation to sanctuary cities specifically. The county government in the Denver area is, in fact, passing multiple resolutions. The part of it is a reimbursement clause, but theirs is really also going to the state, which also has sanctuary policies. But they are talking about the kind of damages and the kind of shortfalls that they will be experiencing. So this is a way to sort of at least get that conversation going. As far as law enforcement, I don't think anybody is suggesting roundups. Nobody's suggesting checking for legal presence. However, part of the law does say, I believe, that if you are aware someone is, when you arrest somebody, one of the things I think that needs to be done is to see if, in fact, they are legally present. Because we ask for driver's licenses. When someone is arrested, they are asked for identification. If they have legal identification, then I think that takes that issue off the table. But that's something that's a bit finer a point. But we're not looking to have the sheriff's department go out and round up people who look suspicious for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that just because somebody looks foreign doesn't mean they are, and because someone does not look foreign doesn't mean they aren't. So I think that is an absolute non-starter, just to randomly round up people. I think it has to be more if they have been taken into custody for commission of a crime, and I think that's kind of what the sheriff was saying. But before I go to the sheriff, because he's obviously come to the podium, what we're trying to do is put together what we are going to do here. And I don't think either of these proposals are perfect by any means, but I think it's an important discussion to have. And as I said, and I'll repeat this again, given where the budget committees are in the House and Senate, I think a declaration that we are not and do not plan to become a sanctuary city gives us some affirmative protection against some future complaints. So, I mean, we at least have something to hang our hats on and say, this is not where we are going. And in fact, in the immigration law, because we had, oddly enough, when we wrote it, the word knowingly was not defined in state law. So we had to define it. And so much of it revolves around whether or not the law was knowingly violated. And so that's a lot of it right there. If we can make that affirmative statement, I don't say that achieves the not knowingly clause, but it at least gives us some defense, something to hang our hats on and say, we are doing our best to remain in compliance. If it weren't for that in the budget, I don't know that I would have necessarily brought it up, but I can perceive some threat to the funding that we get, and I want to make sure that first and foremost we are protecting the people of this county, including any budgetary shortfalls or any budgetary penalties that we may have. So I would like to make sure we protect ourselves and our citizens from the danger of possibly losing funding that it could possibly be avoided by just a simple statement. Mr. Sheriff, you were, and then I've got 4 other commissioners lined up here, so I think before I turn it over to you, I'm going to say I think we probably have talked about this a lot. We are not contemplating action at this moment. I think it's good to take what we've got, contemplate it, and then start working through, if there is a solution to be had, start working towards that direction. So, Mr. Sheriff, please proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner. So aside from the enforcement part, as many of you know, I started my law enforcement career with the Phoenix Police Department in Arizona. And the number one issue that we had was illegal immigration. And so the reality was, how do you identify them? It's so easy to buy a fake ID, and there's no way we can tell otherwise, right, if it's fake or not. But even when we used to have people in our custody who we think are there illegally, we can't prove it. Right? And this is the Phoenix Police Department. At the time, it was the 6th largest police department in the country. And we still didn't have resources. So we would call immigration. And they would say, well, just hang on to them. We'll be over there in a few days. We don't have that capability. Phoenix didn't have that capability. So we would have to go to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. And they said, no, you can't bring them in here because you can't prove their legal status, and we don't want custody because our law is very specific that when you arrest someone who is here illegally, the first thing you do is call their embassy. How long do you think it takes to get a response? I'll leave it at that. So what we would end up having to do, because immigration would just say, look, we can't get out there if you're not going home, just let them go. It's easy when they commit a crime. That's easy because then we just process them and then we fingerprint them and everything else, so they can't use 1,000 different names every time they enter the country. But the good news is if they've been deported and we run them, we'll know that they've been deported and they've come back. So again, that's easy because it's already been established. But for those people who are here for the very first time, who's never been in trouble, and we come across, and you know, the roundups, when you say that, definitely that's not something I would ever do. But when Sheriff Joe Arpaio did that in Maricopa County, we remember literally seeing truckloads of people leaving north on 17 and east on 10 because they were afraid and they left. Well, Maricopa County had, I don't know, 6,000 people. I mean, that was a pretty large county itself. Perhaps they can do that, but again, you know, here in Clay County, we don't have those resources. And what I was doing was calculating as quickly as I could the amount of police officers that we have in Clay County. Roughly 332, not counting Kansas City. Kansas City is still roughly 400 officers down, short. So whenever something happens in Kansas City and they need more resources, they take from the Northland and they take them south. So in a county that has roughly 263,000 people, we have 332 officers, law enforcement professionals. And a lot of those are commanders. A lot of those individuals are investigators. When you really break it down to patrol, for 263,000 people, I think it ends up being about 100 collectively with all the police departments and the sheriff's office. So, you know, the realities of absolutely, we should never encourage anyone who's illegal to come to Clay County, and we should always keep and maintain the reputation that if you commit a crime here in Clay County, we're going to deal with you appropriately. But at the same time, I go back to how do we prove it? If they're not here, I'm going to enforce the laws as much as I can. But if I can't prove it, then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to try, and then I'm just going to take the handcuffs off of somebody who might be illegal and say, okay, go on. I can't have immigration come out here. I can't do anything with you. You see where my issue is? And so, yes, we need to encourage cities to follow state law, federal law. We need to not encourage illegals to come here. We need to make sure that if anybody comes here and they want to commit crimes, that we're going to deal with you accordingly. I mean, that's the reputation we have already. We've got a great prosecutor, and I might be a little biased, but I think we have a great sheriff, who enforces the law. But nonetheless, what's that?
When he's recognized.
Yes.
Can I see those credentials one more time, just?
But those are just some of the realities. And I remember that early in my career when I'm brand new rookie officer thinking I'm doing the right thing, and then I have no recourse. There's no way for me to enforce the law that I've taken an oath to enforce. And so then I literally have to let someone go. Well, the problem that I have with that is what happens if I let them go and then they go down the street and commit a crime and ultimately, worst case scenario, kill someone. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, because if you open the doors and say everyone's involved, and yes, I know that there's been revisions to the original statement, but I think that door is already open, and that's, I think, really what we're having to address. Because that door is already open. But the realities of what the Clay County Sheriff's Office can do and can't do, and then really if there's going to be impositions on cities who want to do something, I can only imagine what their police officers are going to do and not be able to do. So I think there's as one of the commissioners said it, there's a lot more thought that has to go into this and a lot more people to have conversations with. So I just wanted to throw the realities out and the numbers of law enforcement that we have in Clay County.
I think both resolutions basically say we need to have some way to look at this thing because there's a recognition that it would stress your office more, and so we want to be open to the idea that if and when those stresses are put upon you, that we have a mechanism to start trying to deal with it. So I mean, I think both statements pretty solidly say we're supporting your efforts. And we need to have some quantification on how we can help. So I think that's kind of the direction we're going at. We're not saying you have to go do this or do that. We're not laying extra responsibilities on you. We're just saying because those responsibilities may increase, we need to be cognizant of what the increased costs may be. So I think that's really where, I don't want to speak for Commissioner Lawson. She's capable of speaking for herself, but I think that's kind of the direction that we were thinking.
So, and I agree. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. But, with Clay County, with the Clay County Sheriff's Office, as an example, I've had to increase my fees for the jail because the way that we've always been doing things isn't reflective of what the work that we're actually doing inside the jail. And so I just want to throw it out there because of the changes that I've made internally already directly impact the municipalities. If there's something in addition to this, I want it to be known that it's not because of the immigration issue as the reason why I have made the changes in the fees as it is. Because quite frankly, I don't care what your immigration status is. If you've committed a crime and we have to detain you, they're going into my facility. All right. And so I think whatever that looks like, whatever resolution and what's being discussed comes with a dollar amount. I just need to make sure that everyone understands that it's separate. The things that I'm having to do with the sheriff's office to run operations is separate than what we're dealing with here. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Withington, you are, Doug, I apologize, I am having myself quite a time here. There we are, now you are recognized, please proceed.
Have either of you guys talked to any of the municipalities about your resolution or ordinance?
No, I did not.
Have you?
Kansas City.
You've only talked to Kansas City?
Yes.
Who'd you talk to, Nathan Willett?
Yes.
And that was it?
So far. Well, it was, excuse me, I don't mean to take your time here, but yeah, this has just come forward like in the last day or two, so there's not been much time.
If we're going to keep moving forward with this, I would like to have conversation with every city and municipality in Clay County. I mean, this is something that's going to impact everybody, so I don't feel comfortable moving forward until every municipality, I'm talking Oakview, the Oaks, every municipality is talked to about this. And then when we have it, I want to see every municipality have somebody here testifying either for it or against it or something. But every municipality should have a representative here whenever something comes forward. But, I heard somebody say that we need to come up with something that has teeth. I can't remember who. I'm tired and sorry you guys are here so late. I hope you guys didn't have dinner plans or anything. But, I mean, I don't even know what that means. What can we even do? I mean, we can't come up with anything that's gonna supersede state or federal law. You know, do we even have a sanctuary city in Clay County? I can't think of one. So, I know people are scared about Quentin Lucas's tweets, and, you know, now they want to score political points and everything, but, you know, I get it, and I appreciate Nathan Willett's leadership on this, and that's why, again, I go back to, if we're gonna do anything, I think we should follow what Nathan Willett put forward. We should follow his example of just affirming you know, encouraging the local municipalities to follow state and federal law, because like I said, this is a wedge issue. Neither political party has a desire to solve it.
Commissioner Carpenter? Oh, I pushed the button correctly. You must be lucky this evening. Please proceed, sir.
Thanks, Commissioner. So I, you know, largely agree with Commissioner Withington, especially as it pertains to, you know, the federal government has clearly been deeply incompetent on this issue for many decades. It's not a new issue. In fact, you know, it goes back at least through the 80s, and indeed, since we've had immigration law, we've never at any point had a secure southern border. And so I'm sure it is deeply frustrating for folks in law enforcement who then struggle with that incompetency and, you know, are unable to get immigration services to have the adequate manpower to deal with folks who are detained and suspected of being here illegally, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, the federal government's going to have to solve the issue. Clay County, Missouri is not going to do it. Kansas City is not going to do it. The state of Missouri is not going to do it. Will the political will ever come to exist in Washington, D.C. to get it done? I don't know. Clearly, to date, April 25th, 2024, it hasn't happened yet. I hope someday it does. But in terms of, first of all, I want to say my top line concern of distinguishing folks who are here illegally versus legal documented folks who are under any number of legal statuses. I want to thank the commission. It sounds like there's a general consensus to narrow the focus to talk about folks who are here illegally. So thank Commissioner Johnson for his words in that regard as well. What I would encourage, I suppose, because it's so complicated, immigration law in this country is very complicated. I certainly don't purport to be an expert in it. But I would encourage everybody to look deeper into this specific issue, because I agree the initial tweet, again, I acknowledge that in my opening remarks. I understand there was a good faith concern about what was said. I looked into it. I think if you do, you'll be reassured, because what is being discussed isn't some secretive plan to get folks who are illegally in the country to come to Kansas City. Indeed, it's a network of folks who are trying to work with cities, especially when there are workforce shortage areas, to match up those workforce shortage areas with where there are a surplus of legally documented migrants. I think when you get into the granular details of it, it starts to feel a lot less scary, and it starts to make a lot more sense, quite frankly. The issue of New York City and Denver and some of the issues they're having, there is a subset of the influx that are recognized by the federal government as having temporary legal status or work permits. So indeed, some of those folks could be potentially relocated to cities in which there are workforce shortage areas in which those folks could fill the gaps. I think if we do it that way, I think if the city does it that way, in conjunction, hopefully with businesses, hopefully with workers' groups, and other mayors across the city, and follow all the laws of the state and the federal government, I think it could be a thing that is good for the country. So I just want to suggest that as long as we limit this concern to not becoming a sanctuary city and not extending an invitation to folks who are here illegally, you know, I think you could get pretty widespread agreement on that. To the extent that the city is currently undertaking an initiative here, I would just encourage you to really look into what the initiative is, what the proposed details are. Having done so, I can say that it allayed any of my concerns personally. Thanks.
Thank you. We have two more commissioners wishing to speak, Commissioner Lawson and Commissioner Wagner. Because the discussion item, I was recognizing Commissioner Lawson as that, as the leader of that discussion. Would it be okay if we go ahead and hear Commissioner Wagner's, and then we'll go to you for your views and to kind of close the discussion? Okay, go right ahead. I was asking if you want to do it that way. It's your choice. Hold on, I'm doing fat fingers again here. There,
Okay.
you're on now.
All right. I'd like to curse. What Jay said is exactly kind of what I said. I'm all for people coming here, wherever they come from. But I'm damn tired of working my fanny off my whole life to have the things I've got. And then somebody comes here and I'm supposed to just say, oh, well, you know, let me give you money. Let me give you my tax dollars. Let me give you stuff that we ought to be providing for this county to crap like that. I just feel that we need to take a stand of some nature. I agree with you 1,000%. I think there is an underlying thing here as far as Kansas City. When you open those doors and say, come on down, you're putting yourself up for a lot of problems. If somebody in one of these cities, it's a sanctuary, is spending $12 billion, did you say with a B?
I'll clarify that just to make sure, but
Yeah.
the news reports from the New York Post said that the mayor of New York said that they estimated the cost of the migrant issue in New York City between now and the summer of 2025 would be $12 billion. That was his statement.
Let's just bring them on. We got plenty of money. That ought to tell us something right there, and we ought to be saying, let's get our butts in gear and do something. Now, I think that Commissioner Withington has a phenomenal idea. I think that we should pull in, all of us go to whichever cities we're most comfortable with dealing with, and let's talk to those mayors. Let's see what the general consensus is for Clay County, and that isn't a bad thing to do. But I think we need to get ourselves in gear here and start doing something. The illegal issue is ridiculous. Just like Commissioner Johnson said, one time my sister and I had gone to Mexico, and when we came back, came across the border on a trolley. And as we're coming across the Rio Grande, there was a big bunch of railroad tracks on the American side. You'd see the people coming across the river, bunches of them. They could, it's just a trickle. You can wade right across the thing. And the immigration guys would be on the other side of the railroad tracks. And those people were so sharp at coming doing this, they'd wait till those immigration cars went past the railroad trestle, and then here they'd come running across. Everybody on the bus was yelling to the immigration people, they're down here, get them, they're coming across. They're coming across in droves. It's scary, and like I said, if they came the right way, I have no problems, but they're coming across that way, and then it's up to us to absorb all the costs. It's up to the law enforcement to have to confront all the crime. And it's not the good people. It's bad enough they're coming across. Think about the damn drugs that are coming across. think about the people that they bring across illegally with the sex trafficking, all of those things. I mean, you have no idea. I worked with an organization down in Peculiar, around Peculiar, Missouri, and all of the women that they had in this facility were women they had rescued from sex trafficking. Some of them had little kids. They had been through hell and back, and these people were trying to give them a new way. These people didn't ask to come here. They were brought here. And so, you have all those different situations. The money is overwhelming what it's going to cost us. So let's get off our butts. Let's figure out a way we'll divvy up the mayors, talk to the different mayors, come back and see what we can come with. In the interim, I don't want just one of us or two of us to work on this thing. I want the commission to work on it. So if other people just takes these two documents, doctor them up any way they see fit, and then let's get back together and see what we can do to come together in a consensus, and then try to get something done once that we know how the mayors in this county, because I think they all have a partnership in this, and I think we've got to do something, whatever that something may be. So that's it. I'm done.
Commissioner Wagner, you will be the last to speak, unless someone else chimes in. I tell you, I am just having a devil of a time with my fingers here. You are now recognized.
Thank you. My over-under was 9 o'clock, and I was going to take the over, so I'm pretty sure whatever I say will draw some comment, and I've already won my bet. But, okay, so I'm already concerned that we have already taken the paintbrush and made it real wide. And I say that, and I respect the experience that our colleagues has had. I'll tell you mine. So between living there, representing it in Kansas City, and working there, I have spent over 20 years in the northeast area of Kansas City. It has the highest number of those who will identify as Hispanic and Latino. And I will tell you, I have had those criminal experiences where individuals who were not here the right way, committed crimes, were sent back down to, in this case, Mexico, and were re-identified in the community 6 months later. It's a federal problem, one that we are not going to fix. I will also tell you that part of the services we provide come from federal dollars for rental assistance, and not any of it goes to someone who is undocumented. Federal dollars, we don't give them to individuals in that space. What is interesting, though, in my experience, is that the giveaway, if one wants to term it in that fashion, does not necessarily come from government. It comes from the private sector. Because there are people who will hire individuals who are undocumented. There are organizations, charitable and religious, that will support them, even if they are undocumented. And I don't wish to say anything that suggests that they're doing anything criminal or wrong, although there are opinions of what that is. So we can suggest and talk about Mayor Q's choice of words. I will just simply say that if we're just going to blame him, we're missing a good portion of what draws those who are here legally or illegally here to Kansas City. We don't talk about that. I'm not sure we want to talk about that. But what is concerning to me is that we seek a solution that I'm not sure solves the problem that I think I heard. What I heard and what prompted the Councilman Willett to take the action he took was a danger that somehow the state would take funds away from Kansas City through their budget. And what I infer from those comments here tonight is we are concerned that we will somehow have some guilt by association. If that is the true motivator, that we don't want that association with Kansas City, then my answer to that would simply be to take what was offered by our colleague a little bit earlier. We already have laws on the books in Missouri. If we want to say we expect everyone to abide by that, there you go, done. Again, I get concerned, and I think we've heard it now twice from our sheriff, that if you want to really do something about it, then you got to measure it and you got to be able to build a case for it. And what I'm hearing, and if I ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to just come back up again. We're going to be here longer. But what I think I heard was that don't look to the sheriff's department to make that identification or to make that case. And if the county were to make that case, we would have to rely somewhat on that. So again, I understand, I'm pretty sure I understand why this is forward. Do I believe the way the mayor of Kansas City brought this out? Big mistake. But I used to say that when I served with him and it didn't really matter. So anyway. It is just apparent to me that to go beyond saying we will follow the law in Missouri is problematic and will not be worth the paper it's printed on. Because even if every city wanted us to take action and we said, yeah, we're going to do something, I'm not seeing the pathway to take action successfully. And if we can't do that, then let's just say we're not associated with this city. Let's just say we're going to follow the law that's already there and call it a day. That's my opinion. And I'll leave it at that because I know everyone wants to get some sleep. So, thank you.
Well, now that our primary goal of having you take us beyond 9 o'clock has been accomplished, I'm going to go ahead. I don't see anyone else taking recognition. I do want to make sure that Commissioner Thompson feels as though I didn't want to have you not be included, but if you have no comments, that is perfectly fine. Thank you. Thank you. With that discussion item is concluded. That brings us to our third discussion and hopefully last. Let me turn my page over. Yes, that would be our last discussion item, and that would be discussion regarding commissioners' public comments that represent personal opinions and may not necessarily reflect the views of the commission, and that would be Commissioner Withington. So, Commissioner Withington, yeah, there you are, good. I was going to say, if you activate your mic, I will recognize you. You may start, sir.
I'll be real brief and real quick. So I asked to put this on there. I just want to get get a consensus from the commission. If a commissioner is at an event representing the commission, I think all commissioners should be able to see the slide deck or speech or whatever prepared comments are that commissioner is going to give before the speech. And also, I think that if you look at some other counties, there's a code of conduct that says that if commissioners are going to express a personal opinion, that they make it damn clear that it's a personal opinion and not they're not necessarily representing the entire commission. So that's all I want. I just want to make sure that, like I said, that if somebody's representing us, that every commissioner finds out about it beforehand. They're not caught off guard or surprised by anything. And that if somebody shares a personal opinion, that it is known that it's a personal opinion and they're not representing the body.
Further discussion?
Yeah, well,
Commissioner Lawson, you are recognized.
no, I agree with him completely. I'll go back where I shouldn't go, just about like with the Royals. I had my opinion, strong as it was, the opposite way of what some others had. And I felt as though every time that they were talking, it was always, and I'm not picking on you, but as an example, if they went to Commissioner Nolte, he was saying, oh, we're doing this and we're working with them and we want them back. And, you know, that's not how I felt. And I think that we do have to be mindful, and we all do it, but I think we have to be very mindful, just like Commissioner Withington said. When we speak out about something, we are representing the county and the commission. That's the way people see us. And so I think it is imperative that if it is, like if they, the other day when the guy was talking to me about the track range on TV, okay, I was very careful about saying what was my feeling. And then when he said, do you think it's going to be built back? What do you, and I said, nobody knows that. I said, we have to wait, and then I gave all the steps that we had to go through before we could have, make a decision. So I made it very clear, I'm not making any decisions. It's not mine to make. We have to get more facts. So I think that we really do have to be more careful because there are so many of us. Before, when there were 3, it was easy to corner this one or that one. It happened the same way. But I think that we have to be more cautious because what you feel may not be what I feel, and it needs to come out. This is my opinion alone. You'd have to talk to the other 6 and see how they feel about it. I think that's a great template that we use every time somebody asks us a question. And if we do that, then they come to some of the other commissioners and say, hey, John, how do you feel about that? Or, whatever. So I think it does make it a little bit nicer, and it's more respectful of the other commissioners' opinions. And so that's all.
Further discussion? Seeing none. That brings us to county administrator comments. Administrator?
I just have 50 or 60 things to go over tonight. You brought snacks? No. Just the next meeting of the commission is next Thursday, May 2nd at 6 p.m. here in the chambers.
Thank you very much. That brings us to commissioner comments. Commissioner Thompson, you get the prize for having said the least this evening. So we're going to start with you on commissioner comments.
Well, I still have nothing to say.
But saying nothing is saying something, so we got you. Commissioner Johnson. Nothing. Commissioner Wagner. Commissioner Lawson. Nothing. Commissioner Withington.
The NFL draft is tonight, and your guys' quarterback, Caleb Williams, got drafted #1 overall to the Chicago Bears.
And Commissioner Carpenter.
Well, I guess if we're talking USC football, because Jason likes to take little jabs at Jay and I's favorite university. Well, they gave Reggie Bush his Heisman back, and now USC has the most Heisman Award winners of any university in the country, so fight on. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
We can talk about a lot of controversial things. We can talk about immigration, we can talk about taxation, all that other stuff, but I am not going anywhere near the subject that was just mentioned, so I got nothing on that. Thank you very much. That brings us to recess and adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.